23-year-old Rosemary Christensen is a well-respected realtor near Clearwater, Florida.
She was the friendliest, nicest, sweetest person ever.
She cared a lot about people, and in turn, people cared a lot about her.
The day Rosemary went missing starts just like any other. Rosemary is on her way to work at a local real estate firm for the daily meeting.
It's always the same. We do our pump-up, rah-rah sessions and then listen about new listings and just a normal day.
As her day progresses, Rosemary gets some great news. One of her properties has sold, and she's elated.
She'd worked hard on this contract, and it came through. And, you know, once something like that happens, she would just get overjoyed over it.
Moments like this are the reason Rosemary loves the real estate business. And the business loves her.
She was excellent. She knew what her job was and did it very, very well.
She was very dedicated, very hardworking. I mean, she took things so seriously. In fact, she had won several awards and everything, and she'd only been in it for a couple of years.
Rosemary began her realty career in 1997, shortly after moving to the United States from Holland. In Holland, she was the wife of a diplomat, a role she relished that took her all over the world. Rosemary's Australian accent, cordiality, and worldliness help her connect with practically everyone she meets.
I met Rosemary at an open house. I had done real estate for a long time, and she's just starting. And then we also got into her background, which was diplomatic. I had a diplomatic background as well. And we instantly hit it off.
Before moving to America, Rosemary also hits it off with someone she meets on the internet, a 47-year-old man from Illinois named Robert G. Temple.
We were just friends at first, and it evolved into phone calls. She told me about she was married to a diplomat, and, and naturally I didn't believe her when she had told me, and all the people that she had met and presidents that she had been to dinners with. I thought it was internet chat, so I think I might have been a secret agent, or who knows, how people exaggerate. He
had told her that he was with the FBI, that he had several homes in several places, and somehow or another he convinced her to come over to the United States to meet him in person.
Rosemary separates from her husband and flies to Chicago to meet Temple, who's surprised to learn she's been truthful about herself from day one.
When she did come to see me, I knew she was telling the truth, and I had already told her, and I felt so ashamed, that, I'm just a farm boy from Illinois.
Rosemary gets divorced, and after a 6-month courtship, Rosemary and Robert get married and settle in the quiet community of Bel Air, Florida. In this condo, which Rosemary pays for. Rosemary's friends don't really understand the attraction.
When I first met Robert Temple, I had no idea what Rosemary was doing with him.
We're still trying to figure that one out.
Whatever her friends think, Rosemary and Robert do seem to enjoy a true, loving bond.
Sometimes opposites attract, which they do in many relationships. Whatever goes on behind closed doors is something we're not ever privy to, but they must have had something to be together.
Thursday, August 26, 1999, back at work, Rosemary continues to celebrate the property she sold. While she runs through the office parking lot to tell coworkers the good news, she trips and falls onto her knee.
I believe her heel got caught in the asphalt and she skinned her knee. And there's a little scratch.
And she'd ripped her hose, so we Band-Aided it up because it hadn't run yet or anything. So she was okay, but she was like so upset about her hose having a hole in it now because she had an appointment.
Meeting with clients is the part of the job Rosemary enjoys the most.
She would take people out to dinner and to lunch and show them where to go.
When she was with clients, they warmed up to her instantly, and we never felt anything but comfortable with her going out with the clients.
But her husband, Robert, worries about the kind of people Rosemary may meet.
That was the only time I ever worried about her was at night. I shouldn't say this, but sometimes I would go ahead and follow her.
At 2 p.m., just 5 hours before her disappearance, Rosemary has an appointment with clients.
I know she was showing property to a couple that she met up in Bel Air Beach.
Rosemary meets her clients at the Bel Air Beach Resort Motel. Next, she takes them to view a number of properties. At one home, Rosemary gets a call on her cell phone around 3:30.
Robert had been calling her.
I called and she said, I'm probably going to be late because I've got about 20 places I can show her if she wants to see them all. We'll just go with whatever she wants to do. But I'll call you before I come home.
A half hour later, Rosemary's phone rings again. This time, Rosemary is annoyed and excuses herself.
Nothing worse than when you're trying to show somebody a house and you're getting interrupted and you lose your train of thought.
At around 5:30 that afternoon, Rosemary apologizes for the interruption and wraps up the appointment. Then she schedules another appointment for 11 a.m. the next day. Rosemary says goodbye to her client and then heads home. This is the last time Rosemary Christensen is seen. The next day, Rosemary's client shows up at the realty office looking for Rosemary. It's unusual that Rosemary didn't call in, but coworker Kathy assumes Rosemary's absence is likely connected to problems she's having with Robert.
The first thing I did think was, okay, they had a falling out, and here she's not coming in. But I just kind of let it go.
Most of the day goes by, and still, no call from Rosemary. Her coworkers are prepping for a company beach party the next day, and Rosemary fails to help as planned.
She was supposed to be making a potato salad for this party, and she didn't have a bowl big enough, so she had asked one of the associates if she could borrow a big bowl. So they put this bowl out and had it sitting out there waiting for her on Friday to pick up, and she never came. And I said, well, she still got Saturday. I mean, it doesn't take long to make potato salad.
But deep down, Kathy thinks Rosemary might be avoiding her coworkers, because Kathy's come to know a secret detail of Rosemary's home life. It's Friday, August 27th, 1999. Florida realtor Rosemary Christensen hasn't been seen since the night before. Her coworker Kathy McKinnon thinks it might be because Rosemary and her husband, Robert Temple, had an argument. In fact, Kathy worries that Rosemary may be hiding from sight. She can't forget something Rosemary told her just a month earlier.
She wanted me to know that she's having problems with Robert and that they'd had major domestic fights. And the reasoning why she was not in the office, she'd be gone for a couple days, is because she was too embarrassed that a bruise would show.
I hate the fact that people think that I could ever hurt Rosemary. You know, I never hurt Rose, threatened her or anything.
On Saturday, August 28th, Kathy hopes Rosemary will come out of hiding to attend the company beach party. Rosemary and Robert went to the party the year before, but this year, they're both a no-show.
She never came, and I had been calling her, and she's with no response.
Rosemary's boss then pages her multiple times.
And the more pages went by without a response, the more elevated the concern became.
After that, the party was over, still no Rosemary. I just figured that she and Robert had a fight and that she was at home trying to make the wounds go away so no one would see it.
The next morning, Kathy and a coworker are worried about Rosemary. They head over to her condominium to check up on her. But Kathy knows that in order to get to Rosemary, she might have to confront Robert.
Robert never really liked me.
As Kathy and a male coworker arrive at the condominium complex to look for Rosemary, they notice Robert's motorcycle and Rosemary's car are still sitting in their parking lot. The vehicles make Kathy wonder why her phone calls have gone unanswered if both Rosemary and Robert are still at home.
I knew something was really wrong then.
Kathy wanders around the back of the complex toward Rosemary's condo, Unit 148.
And all the windows were closed, all the drapes were pulled. It was just dark. I mean, there was nobody, you couldn't see in. And that's when we called the Bel Air police.
Soon the police arrive. A locksmith opens the condo, and an officer enters the home. After the police search the home, they contact Rosemary's best friend, Laurel.
I got a phone call that they were at her condo. Then he proceeded to tell me that the carpet was missing. At that point, I started crying because I had been at her house just recently. The carpet was new, it was beautiful, the walls were freshly painted.
Rosemary had just remodeled her condo, and my carpet guy helped. And I knew something was really, really wrong at that moment.
Desperate for answers, Kathy calls Robert Temple's family in Decatur, Illinois, and speaks to a woman who answers the phone.
I just asked if she had seen Robert, and she said that Robert was up there in Illinois. And I said, well, is Rosemary with him? And she said no. And I said, well, we can't seem to find Rosemary. And she asked me if I had looked in the trunk of Rosemary's car for her. I asked her why would she say something like that, and she goes, well, you know they've been having problems.
What was allegedly said intensifies Kathy's suspicions about Robert. She's somewhat surprised when moments later, Robert calls her back.
I said, Robert, where's Rosemary? And then he started getting all upset and said, did she leave me, Kathy? Did she leave me? I said, I don't know, Robert. All I want to know is, where is she? Do you know where she is? And that's when he says that she went off with some people Thursday night, and he left town. I told him he was lying. I said, Robert, don't be telling me this kind of crap. He just says, I know you're not going to believe it, but it doesn't matter. That's exactly what the point is.
Kathy goes straight to the police and files a missing persons report. The rest of Rosemary's coworkers fan out around the community, looking for signs of their missing friend.
Anybody sees her or anything, that number.
Okay.
Groups went around driving the different neighborhoods to see if there's any signs of Rosemary at all. We did not come up with anything.
Beggins is so worried, he hires a private investigator who specializes in missing persons cases, Dick Price.
He said he was very, very concerned about it, as much as all the girls were, and that's how it really got into it, and that's where it started that day.
As the search for Rosemary ramps up, Pinellas County Sheriff's detectives take over the investigation and attempt to locate Temple.
They learned rather quickly that he was in Illinois visiting relatives, I believe, and he had planned that trip, he said, beforehand, and it was a point of some dispute with his wife, some argument, some disagreement, he later explained.
They learn Rosemary's husband isn't only with his relatives, he's with another woman.
His traveling companion was a 22-year-old woman by the name of Leslie Stewart. Obviously, that raises everybody's suspicion to some degree. At the time, the suggestion, of course, between the lines was that this was not a perfect marriage if there was a girlfriend involved.
Robert met Leslie Stewart while both worked as customer service agents at a phone sex and psychic hotline.
Probably within a couple of weeks after I met her, we were having sex every day, either in the back parking lot at work, in her car, or in the bathroom at work.
Back in Florida, detectives officially search the condo. They find a collection of used cleaning products and painting supplies, items that were purchased the morning after Rosemary's disappearance at a nearby Walmart by Robert Temple using Rosemary's credit card.
I was able to obtain the receipt from Walmart. It was Clorox, it was Febreze, and scrub brushes, a knife, duct tape, anything that could be used to either clean evidence up or erase a crime scene.
But there's one item listed on the receipt that leaves private investigator Dick Price perplexed. A tote with wheel. Price obtained one to try to figure out why Temple would have purchased it and why it is the only item police couldn't locate.
My thoughts were that this is just a perfect piece of equipment that could get rid of, number one, all of the carpet real easy, and also to be able to dispose of a body.
At the time, detectives report that Rosemary's husband, Robert Temple, is cooperating and has agreed to return to Florida for further questioning.
We've said before that he is not a suspect. He has the understanding we'd like to speak to him.
Authorities don't name Temple a suspect because solid evidence linking him to Rosemary's disappearance hasn't been discovered. Also, it seems possible Temple really doesn't know what happened to his wife. Temple left messages for her on their home answering machine, and he even left her a note.
Dear Rose, I was hoping to see you before I left, but I decided to go ahead and go today instead of waiting until tomorrow. Tried phoning and beeping you, but guess you were out of range. Wish you could have gone with me, but maybe next time. Take care, and I'll be back on Tuesday. I love you, lady, Rob. And then in the bottom of the note, he said, also, the tile guy said he could do it next week once we got all the painting done. Promise me you'll like this shade of white this time. Ha ha. Rosemary and I had recently been at her home, and she had never mentioned to me anything about getting tile. The whole note was bogus, designed to put the sheriff's off into a missing persons search.
I didn't believe any of it for a minute. I knew he had done something to Rosemary, and it wasn't going to be good.
Why are Rosemary's friends so convinced Robert has done something terrible to his wife? When Robert Temple's criminal records surface, revealing a violent past, their concerns only escalate. On September 26, 1999, Tampa Bay area realtor Rosemary Christensen disappears.
This was a big deal. It was a big deal because Rosemary Christensen was a well-liked, if not loved, realtor who had a lot of friends and coworkers who cared a great deal about her.
Police hope her husband, Robert G. Temple, can help them locate Rosemary. But her best friends think something horrible has happened. Their suspicions stem from incidents of alleged verbal and physical abuse involving her husband.
When Rosemary and I first started talking about the abuse that was mainly the verbal that was bothering her, Robert would say stuff about her weight, just hurtful things. I think as the relationship got strained, it escalated.
She told me about one incident in a townhouse they lived at, and that he had hit her.
The incident occurred on the night of July 14th, 1997, in Clearwater, Florida. According to police records and these photographs, Rosemary sustained injuries to her cheek and eye. But her husband Robert claims it was all an accident.
Rose was up, opening the door, right as I tripped over a box and hit the door and knocked her back, and I'm still falling forward in the door. It cut her eye right here. It split her eye. I mean, it was bleeding like there's no tomorrow.
Temple was arrested for domestic battery, but Rosemary asked for the charges to be dropped, and Temple pleaded no contest to disorderly conduct. Despite the incident, Rosemary and Robert marry 3 weeks later.
Robert continued to tell her, I'll change. I'm sorry. I won't do it again.
abuser's first defense is to say, oh, it was an accident. And in some ways, it was a plausible excuse, except when you add up all these things together, it just didn't look good.
As the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office continues to wait for Temple's return from Illinois, his record of criminal offenses surfaces in the local media. In 1996, just over a year before marrying Rosemary, Temple pleaded guilty to domestic battery of his previous wife in Decatur, Illinois. He claims the incident was an unfortunate misunderstanding.
My wife and I were kind of drunk, and we were on the front porch. I started to go off, and I grabbed her, and we both went off into the bushes. Her mom saw that, called the police on me.
That wasn't Temple's only brush with the law. He served about 5 years in prison back in 1975 for involuntary manslaughter in the violent death of a girlfriend's 18-month-old child. Temple says someone else killed the child, but he took the rap.
He clearly had a violent past.
We're starting to see a lot of the past issues, especially with the husband before, that we really didn't know anything about. And there's a lot of concern.
Jeff and I both looked at each other, and at that moment we knew she was gone.
1 week after Rosemary's disappearance, and the morning after her 44th birthday, her husband Robert finally returns for questioning. He later joins the detectives at the condo. The local press is also on the scene.
And at our request, they agreed to ask him to come out and talk to us in the pool area of the condominium. So as he walked up to us, I believe every one of us had a whole lot of questions we wanted to ask him.
Can you tell us when you first found out how it all started from the beginning?
They called me in Illinois and told me that I needed to call Rose's, where Rose worked, because they said she was missing.
It was clear that he was presenting himself as a man who was in great anguish over the fate of his wife.
Rose and I haven't been apart this long since we've been married. And I miss her so bad. I just want her back. Please, if anybody's seen Rose, know where she's at, please. Just tell her, just call, just please let us know.
When Rosemary's best friend Laurel sees the interview, she's immediately dubious.
His hands were trembling and he was crying, but there were no tears.
I believe that would really happen.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone try to work up a tear as hard as he did that day and fail to do so.
Not buying the emotion, Douglas asks Temple some tougher questions.
Sir, pardon the directness of my question, but have detectives asked you whether you killed your wife?
Yes.
And what did you tell them?
I told them no. I could never hurt Rose. I'd rather be dead than anything ever happened to her.
As the interview continues, Temple reveals he last saw his wife the night of her disappearance at around 7 o'clock, an hour and a half after she left her client that day. He says she left home to meet some people he didn't know, but that he didn't expect her to return that evening. Why? Away from the cameras, he drops a bombshell.
They lived an alternative lifestyle, he said. They were swingers.
To reporters, it seems plausible, but Rosemary's closest friends dispute the swinger story.
Rosemary would have never gotten involved in anything shady or along that line, much less swinging.
She was not a swinger. She was not that type of person.
You know, there's always two sides to every story, but it certainly seems complete polar opposite of the Rosemary that I knew. But from what I saw, it didn't seem to jive.
Reporter Mark Douglas investigated the story, but cannot substantiate Temple's claims.
I don't think anyone, especially not myself, ever found any evidence to prove that. On the other hand, I believe there was a lot of evidence that Mr. Temple and his girlfriend at the time, Leslie Stewart, lived that lifestyle.
Meanwhile, detectives have reportedly found blood traces on a piece of carpet from the condo. Surprisingly, Temple acknowledges the blood was most likely Rosemary's.
He said that his wife accidentally cut herself and he cut the square out of the carpet because he couldn't get the blood out of it.
Temple says Rosemary's injury came from a fall onto her knee at work, exactly 1 week earlier.
It wasn't a scratch. Rosemary fell down a couple of times. That's how bad she hurt her leg, because it had really bled. But she said what hurt her worse was her colleagues walking past her and nobody offering to help her.
Rosemary's boss, Jeff Beggins, doesn't remember it that way.
I actually bandaged it up with a Band-Aid, and it was a minor scrape, if anything.
Kathy McKinnon remembers another detail from that day, which she subsequently tells police.
After she had fallen and we had gotten everything fixed and stuff, she was outside smoking a cigarette, and she came right up to me.
It's an ominous statement, but still does not tie Robert Temple to Rosemary's disappearance.
If you talk to any other Rose's colleagues, Rose did not share her personal life. Trust me, I would have known that. I do not believe that she just walked up out of the clear blue and said that to this woman. That, I believe, is a falsehood and a lie.
After the press conference, Temple goes on with his day. Although the Pinellas County sheriffs still don't name him a suspect, the local press doggedly pursues him and his girlfriend, Leslie Stewart. After days of media scrutiny, he and Stewart meet with an attorney for help dealing with the press, but the lawyer advises the couple to retain separate counsel. And Leslie is referred to defense attorney J. Hebert. What Hebert is about to learn might just be the big break investigators have been hoping for, but he won't be able to reveal anything for 9 long years. Get more Disappeared online at investigationdiscovery.com. It's been almost 1 full week since Tampa Bay realtor Rosemary Christensen was last seen. Police have searched her home and questioned her husband, Robert Temple, but they have no suspects or evidence to solve her disappearance. The local press shadows the husband and his girlfriend, Leslie Stewart. But eventually, the couple tires of the attention and seeks legal representation to handle the media. Leslie Stewart meets with local attorney J. Hebert.
For the time, we engaged in an attorney-client conversation, and we listened to everything she had to say, and we did everything we could to represent her the best we could at the time.
What Stewart discusses with Hebert remains confidential, and after their meeting, Hebert never expects to hear from Stewart again. "10 days after Rosemary's disappearance, leads are scarce. To keep the case alive, Rosemary's boss, Jeff Beggins, offers a reward for Rosemary's safe return.
We're taking that into our own hands, making sure that we're doing everything that we can because she's one of our own, and we're not going to rest until she's found.
We put up a $10,000 cash reward. Dollar bills, loose lips, a lot quicker than going in with a gold badge and asking questions and interviews.
After volunteers distribute flyers throughout the area, people come forward and offer private investigator Dick Price some new information.
In probably 1 week, maybe 10 days, I received about 13 to 15 phone calls. There were some people that, boy, they would have liked to have collected that $10,000, but they didn't know enough to put the nail in the coffin.
Over 1 month passes. Rosemary is still missing, without a trace. Her husband rents a moving van and packs up all of their belongings.
I had the condo under surveillance when I came across Robert with a large Penske moving truck. I sat and observed and saw Robert bringing out items and loading the van up.
Temple leaves town with Leslie Stewart.
They got away scot-free. They absolutely had no problems packing up Rosemary's belongings, getting out of town.
Because authorities don't have strong enough evidence, they cannot detain either Temple or Stewart.
When he left, there really wasn't much more to say about this. and the story more or less died down.
Months go by. Fewer and fewer leads materialize. Then, one last ray of hope comes a year and a half later, on May 1st, 2001. A psychic calls and leads police to a local pond. Divers search the water, but they come up empty. Meanwhile, Temple and Stewart travel around the country. They finally settle over 3,000 miles away from Bel Air, Florida, in the Northern California city of Redding. The pair has a child in 2005. But back in Florida, Rosemary's friend Laurel thinks the couple and their secrets will eventually come unglued.
Knowing what a control freak he was, I knew that either he was going to kill Leslie or he was going to threaten her one too many times and she was going to come forward.
The relationship does unravel when Temple allegedly threatens Leslie on August 25th, 2008.
This all happened to coincide right around the 9th anniversary of Rosemary's disappearance. Almost 9 years to the date, Leslie was preparing to go to this family reunion in Washington State. Before she left, Mr. Temple pulled this rather large knife, put it to her throat, and said, "If you say anything, or if you talk about this, I'll kill you, and I'll kill myself, and I'll kill our daughter."
Temple denies Stewart's story.
Leslie, off the top of her head, fabricated that about me pulling a knife on her and putting it to her throat and threatening her. It's really simple. None of the incident happened.
While visiting her family 10 days later, Stewart allegedly tells them about her recent spat with Temple. She decides the only way to change her situation is to get police involved. On September 3rd, 2008, Stewart sets her plan into motion. She calls someone she hasn't spoken to for 9 years, attorney J. Hebert.
And Leslie said, "Hi, Jay, it's Leslie Stewart. Do you remember me?" And candidly, the name didn't just jump off the page at me, but then the next line did. And she said, "About 9 years ago," and immediately at that point in time, the 9 years, I put 2 and 2 together. And I realized that I was talking to my client, who I had not had a conversation with in 9 years. And I was really curious as to why she was calling.
Now, all these years later, Stewart tells Hebert she wants to come forward and reveal the secrets of Rosemary Christensen's whereabouts. Her information will break the case wide open. Tampa Bay realtor Rosemary Christensen has been missing since August 26, 1999. But 9 years later, authorities are about to get a huge break in what's become a cold case. It comes from Leslie Stewart, the girlfriend of Rosemary's husband, Robert Temple. She calls attorney J. Hebert and tells him she wants to turn Temple in.
She had told me for the very first time in almost 9 years that she had had an opportunity to be away from Mr. Temple for an extended period of time, and that she was ready to come forward and explain the details of Rosemary's disappearance.
Stewart gives Hebert the same information she gave him the last time they spoke. A story that's haunted him, that he's kept confidential for 9 years. The reason?
In any legal situation, when a client comes in and consults with an attorney, the attorney-client privilege applies. And what that means loosely is that whatever a client tells a lawyer should be kept in confidence, and that we cannot reveal that information to anyone for any reason, unless, of course, later the client waives that privilege.
Now, Stewart does waive the privilege and allows Hebert to get the police involved. She will reveal what happened to Rosemary Christensen. On September 3rd, 2008, Pinellas County Sheriff's detectives fly across country to secretly interview Stewart at her family reunion just south of Seattle. Leslie Stewart tells the detectives, on the night of Rosemary's disappearance, August 26, 1999, that Robert Temple called her multiple times, insisting that she come to his condo as soon as possible. She arrives to allegedly find Temple drunk and making strange statements.
One of the things was that he had been involved in a child manslaughter out of state. Additionally, he advised her that there was no such thing as the Witness Protection Program, another somewhat bizarre, out of left field comment.
As Stewart wonders what Temple is talking about, he leads her into the bedroom he shares with his wife, Rosemary. Stewart is stunned by what she sees.
Leslie Stewart saw Rosemary Christensen laying in a pool of blood. She wasn't breathing, her eyes were shut, and it was quite obvious that Rosemary was deceased.
According to police records, Temple tells Stewart that he was sitting in front of his computer when Rosemary, who he thought was asleep, snuck up from behind and hit him on the head with the butt end of a large knife. Temple tells Stewart he and his wife struggled and that he accidentally stabbed Rosemary.
It was at that point in time that Leslie compounded the situation by making some bad decisions. She helped with the cover-up. She helped dispose of the body, and she continued with the cover-up story that Robert Temple had come up with. And she did all of this because she was scared of Robert Temple.
Stewart's story is the break police have been hoping for. But before they can arrest Robert Temple for Rosemary's murder, they must first locate the only evidence in the case, Rosemary's body, and Stewart must lead them to it. But they worry about how Temple will react if he learns of Stewart's activities.
We did not want Mr. Temple to get nervous about her not coming back or returning phone calls. There was concern that Mr. Temple had actually threatened to kill Leslie, and then he would kill their daughter, and then he would kill himself.
Police in Redding, California, arrest Temple for making the threats 10 days earlier. But Temple denies the allegations.
She is so treacherous and vicious, you have no idea. She told the police 10 days after the incident was supposed to happen with the knife. 10 days later, no human being that I know would wait 10 days. Why didn't she drive straight to the police? It's because it was a damn lie to begin with, that's what. So.
While Temple is in police custody, and the couple's 3-year-old daughter is with Child Protective Services, Stewart flies to Florida with Pinellas County detectives. She takes them to property along the Suwannee River in the north-central region of Gilchrist County, Florida.
Leslie was fortunate that she was able to take them to the area where the body was buried and located.
Just as Leslie had told J.A. Baer 9 years before, investigators find Rosemary's body stuffed in a green plastic tub, like the one listed on the Walmart receipt. Shortly after the discovery, police in California charged Temple with first-degree murder of his wife, Rosemary Christensen. Rosemary's family and friends are saddened, but relieved to hear the news. Finally, after so many years, they learn what they believe to be the truth.
The family and I knew years ago that he had killed her.
I always knew that someday he was going to slip up because he wasn't that smart.
Temple has been extradited back to Pinellas County, Florida, to face murder charges. But he says they've got the wrong person.
I did help dispose of Rosemary's body. I did help cover up that crime. Those are very serious felonies, too. I deserve to be punished for what I did, and I won't lie about that. But I did not kill Rosemary, and I don't deserve to be punished for that.
Temple says it was Leslie who killed Rosemary. According to his story, Leslie was at the condo waiting for him to come home, to have a secret tryst. But Rosemary came home first. Temple says Leslie pretended she was there to pick up a computer disk, but Rosemary didn't believe her.
She said she turned around to leave, and out of the corner of her eye, she said Rose attacked her. Then they started struggling, pulling hair. When she was wrestling around with Rose, Rose knocked her back on the bed. Rose was on top of her, and they rolled so hard that they rolled right off the edge of the bed onto the floor. When they landed, Rose hit the floor first. Leslie was on top of her, and she thought Rose had knocked herself out because she wasn't moving anymore. But when she got up, she saw the knife sticking in Rose.
Let's just look at it simply. He was 9 years ago declaring and promising that he had nothing to do with it. So it goes to show you what a liar he is. So I'm going to believe what he's got to say now.
I would submit to you that Robert Temple is a desperate man who has spent a life manipulating individuals, and he is desperately trying to manipulate this situation.
For her part, Stewart may receive immunity from prosecution in a deal struck with the state attorney's office.
We hammered out, in essence, a gentleman's agreement. The gentleman's agreement dealt with 3 primary issues. Number 1, that she testified truthfully. Number 2, that she had nothing to do with the actual homicide. And number 3, and probably most importantly, is that she helped produce or find Rosemary's body.
Rosemary's friends feel a sense of closure, but they're also eager to see Robert Temple punished.
Should it be death or should it be life in prison? I'm almost swaying now towards life in prison because, from what I understand, those circumstances are not the most pleasant.
Robert Temple looks forward to his day in court, where he will be able to face his accuser, the woman who he claims is Rosemary's killer.
But I'll be damned if I'm just gonna lay down and die until people know the truth.
Honestly, I believe that I'm going to be found not guilty. And I know a lot of people think that I did something bad to her, but I didn't. And that's the honest to God truth. And just because Leslie and I stayed together doesn't mean that I forgot about Rose. I never forgot about Rose. I've got her picture now in my billfold the whole 9 years that we were gone. I always carried a picture of Rose. I always did.
As Rosemary's friends' lives go on, they carry their memories of Rosemary deep in their hearts.
Rosemary was the most kind, loyal, devoted person. She didn't deserve to have this end. And as again, I'm very glad that it's all over and she's happy.
On the day she disappears, high school teacher Tara Grinstead spends the afternoon with some of her students. They're preparing for the Miss Georgia Sweet Potato Pageant, a big event in a small, close-knit town like Ocilla, Georgia.
On that Saturday, Tara had helped a lot of the girls prepare for the pageant. She had done their hair and their makeup.
A lot of them borrowed her dresses as well. And she had so much fun. She had a really good time with the girls. You know, they had snacks and had lunch.
Tara has an especially close relationship with many of her students.
I never heard anybody say a bad thing about Tara. They related really well to her. She always went the extra mile to help her kids, and she made class so much fun.
Most of Tara's students would say, well, she's my teacher, but she's also my friend.
Tara has been involved in beauty pageants since her high school years, but has her own agenda about the competitions.
Pageanting was not for show and not for everybody to tell her she's beautiful. I think it gave her self-confidence, number one. I think it bettered her self-esteem.
Contestant number 2.
In 1999, Tara won the title of Miss Tifton, Georgia. That victory gave her the opportunity to compete in the Miss Georgia pageant.
Once you accomplish one of your dreams, I mean, how often do you get to do that? And she did by going to Miss Georgia.
Tara doesn't win the Miss Georgia pageant, but her family says that for her, winning was never the most important thing.
I never saw in her that winning a pageant was an ego thing. It was not about just the title of winning. It was always about accomplishing something.
Tara's goal had always been education. She succeeds in funding her entire undergraduate education with money earned from pageants.
She knew college is expensive and it was going to be tough on her, and she did not want to burden her mother any more than she had to.
After getting her bachelor's degree in education, Tara works full-time and takes graduate classes at night, working steadily toward her ultimate goal, a PhD in education.
She had gotten a 6-year degree in administration, and that was what she was pursuing her doctorate in. I think she eventually wanted to be a high school principal.
That Saturday night, a happy and relaxed Tara leaves the sweet potato pageant and heads over to a cookout attended by friends from school.
Tara stayed at the cookout for about 2 hours and left at approximately 11 o'clock p.m., ostensibly to go home.
She said she was going to watch the video of the pageant, and then she was going to go to bed.
In a small town like Ocilla, neighbors look out for each other. Because she lives alone, Tara and her next-door neighbors have a system for saying, "I'm home and all is well."
Every night when she came home, the first thing she would do was go into her room and turn on the lamp in the bedroom. The neighbors would look out and they would see that lamp on, and it would kind of be a signal to them, well, Tara's made it home.
That night, the light in Tara's window never goes on. The next day, nobody sees Tara. No one is able to contact her, including her mother.
The more that she called and the longer the time went on that Tara didn't call her back, she started to get concerned.
Sometimes people just want to be left alone. But I can't imagine her ever ignoring her mother's phone call.
On Monday morning, Tara doesn't show up to teach her classes at Irwin County High School. Friends and family know that something is very wrong.
That was a red flag for me because I knew what a dedicated teacher Tara was.
Tara had never missed a day of school without prearranging a substitute teacher.
One of Tara's friends calls Ocilla Police Chief Billy Hancock.
He indicated to me that Tara had not been seen over the last day, that if the school had been contacted, she had not shown up there.
Chief Hancock arrives at Tara's residence at approximately 10 a.m. on Monday. Her car is parked in its usual spot under the carport.
The fact that her car was there and she wasn't meant that she probably left with someone.
The doors of the car are unlocked. Oddly, there is an envelope containing $100 in cash left in the center console.
I would think it'd be unusual for anybody to leave that amount of cash in the car and leave it unlocked.
That's not like Tara to have money laying around any place.
Inside Tara's house, however, everything looks fairly normal.
There was no sign of forcible entry. There was no clear indication that any kind of struggle had occurred inside.
Both the exterior and interior of Tara's residence are photographed in detail.
Every room was photographed thoroughly to capture, what the condition of the house was at the time of our arrival.
Clothing and accessories scattered around the floor help police reconstruct some of Tara's last known movements.
The clothes Tara was wearing on the night of October 22nd were on the floor in her bedroom, which indicated to us that she had indeed arrived home. Her bed appeared as if possibly somebody had either slept in it or laid in it.
Her cell phone was in the charger. It was still there in the charger. And to us, it indicates that she left the house with intentions of coming back. She knew she wasn't going to be gone long enough to have use of her cell phone.
Investigators locate more intriguing clues outside Tara's house. A business card is wedged into her front door. They find something far more disturbing on the ground.
Initial law enforcement officers who arrived immediately spotted a latex glove lying in the grass in the front yard, several feet away from the front door.
Then I really got scared.
For investigators, the latex glove is an ominous indicator of foul play.
It certainly indicated to us that there was a strong likelihood that a crime had occurred. It would imply that whoever was using it was trying to avoid being detected.
The latex glove's not something that all of us have. I think somebody had it very specifically so that they would not leave a trace.
Our gut feeling upon processing Tara's residence was that a crime had occurred.
Coming up, police investigate the men in Tara's life and uncover some troubling leads.
She gave me the impression that he acted like he was not stable.
After a day spent with friends and colleagues, 30-year-old high school teacher Tara Grinstead has vanished.
I have never known Tara to just take off without letting somebody know. I'm not aware of any time that she ever did that. Everybody might not know, but somebody always knew where she was.
By the time local police arrive at her residence, nobody has seen or heard from Tara for almost 2 days.
Everybody knew that she just had not, gone off for a couple of days, that something had happened, something serious had happened to Tara.
Due to the urgent nature of the case, Ocilla police request the assistance of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
When a person goes missing and we're asked to investigate, we operate with the premise that we're going to presume the worst and hope for the best.
To investigators, a latex glove found near Tara's front door makes it look like someone was attempting to cover up a crime.
Either there was an abduction of Tara in which someone wore gloves, or they returned to the scene and accidentally dropped a glove.
Besides the glove, police have few indications that a crime took place.
To us, there was no clear sign of a struggle. However, that doesn't affect how you proceed in an investigation, because there can be an abduction with no indication of a struggle. It'd be quite easy to take someone out of their house at gunpoint and there'd be no disturbance whatsoever.
My gut feeling is that somebody came by and she left with someone that she knew, and that something horrible happened after that.
Tara's family begins to fear that they might not ever see her again. Meanwhile, the lack of a crime scene presents a daunting challenge to investigators.
In a typical criminal investigation, you have an outcome against which you can measure evidence and theories. In a missing persons case, you don't have that outcome, so you can't measure anything against anything. Everything remains in play.
Law enforcement seals Tara's house and takes her car and the latex glove in for evidence processing.
We actually had a crime lab scientist on the phone immediately who was preparing a plan as to how to handle that latex glove to maximize the possibility of the recovery of evidence.
Tara has been missing for 12 hours. That evening, at Irwin County High School, students and teachers band together in an effort to find her.
The first flyer that was made just basically had a picture of Tara and just had the words missing on it. It just described her height and weight and color of her hair and her eyes.
The students are coming up and they're like, what can we do? We can't just stand around. And I was so touched that, these kids did that. And, they did this until like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Tara's fellow teachers and students design and then distribute hundreds of flyers throughout the Ocilla area.
Posters were everywhere in this community. I mean, they were on light poles, in business windows, on cars, just almost everywhere imaginable.
Georgia Bureau of Investigation agents interview all of Tara's neighbors and conduct an extensive search of her neighborhood.
Also, some tracking dogs were brought in to try to see if they could pick up on any kind of scent of Tara, to see if she had gone somewhere on foot that we might be able to find her.
Both the canvas and the search dogs turn up nothing of value to investigators. Searching for clues, they delve deeply into Tara's background.
You learn as much about the victim as you can, their timeline, their propensities, their associates.
They learn that Tara's circle of acquaintances was huge, from her second job at a department store makeup counter to the various campuses where she took graduate classes.
She had been going to school at night for several years, working on her master's and her specialist degree, so that involved a lot of students that she had met that obviously we would not know.
But it is closer to home that investigators uncover a deeper mystery.
A lot of disappearance cases, you kind of have an immediate focus. You have, a close associate, a boyfriend, or what have you, ex-husband, husband. In this case, what we learned was Tara had several such associates.
Looking into Tara's personal life, they find a complex series of relationships with men.
Tara was involved romantically with several different persons in a close period of time, and she kept those relationships separate from one another.
Investigators focus first on Tara's ex-boyfriend, Marcus Harper.
Tara had a long-term romantic relationship with Marcus Harper. They had broken up approximately a year earlier. Tara had ended the relationship because she believed Marcus wasn't ready to get married.
Investigators learn that Harper served in the Ocilla Police Department for 4 years and then enlisted in the United States Army Rangers in 2001.
She's very proud of him and what he accomplished because he was really good at what he did.
Investigators from the GBI conduct a series of interviews with Marcus Harper.
We interviewed Marcus Harper the very first day and talked to him several times after that.
Over the years that the couple was together, Tara's friends and family got to know Marcus well.
They really looked like a great couple. I mean, he was big and strong, and she was, you know, they were like a really good couple, and I think that they enjoyed each other.
Anytime that we were around Marcus, we had a very good relationship with him. He was always very respectful to us. He was always respectful to Tara when we were with them.
Anita Gaddis sees her sister's relationship with Marcus quite differently.
Tara was a little bit afraid of him. You know, he's been an Army Ranger, and the training that they have is just unbelievable. The things that they can do, the things that they survive. And we stayed in touch with him during his training, and I know what he was able to survive. So I know what the guy's made of.
Despite the differing perceptions within her family, investigators find no history of violence in Tara and Marcus's relationship. But they discover that several months before she disappeared, Tara did experience the threat of violence at the hands of one of her former students.
He had gone over to her house one afternoon in March of 2005. He wanted to speak to her.
The 20-year-old graduated from Irwin County High School the previous year. After taking Tara's history class, he developed a fondness for her.
They had a closer relationship upon his graduation. He would speak to her and see her from time to time.
I just thought it was, you know, one of her students that had, you know, a crush on Tara because she was so beautiful and so sweet to all of her students. And he was the soul that Tara would have wanted to help.
But according to friends, Tara had expressed concern about her former student's behavior.
She had told me she'd been having trouble with him, like kind of getting a little too attached to her or whatever, and kind of got an impression that he was not stable.
Months before Tara disappeared, he came to her house and tried to physically force his way inside.
He wanted to speak to her, and she didn't want to talk to him at that time, and she wouldn't let him in the house, and he became quite upset, loud, began yelling and banging on her door trying to gain entry.
That was a very violent situation. Neighbors actually had to call the police because he was so loud.
I was yelling and screaming through the door and banging on the door, and she gave me the impression that he acted like he was not himself.
Coming up, in the weeks before she disappears, Tara's personal life begins to unravel.
She called hysterically. I said, "Tara, are you okay? You are not thinking about suicide."
"30-year-old Tara Grinstead has been missing for 24 hours. Agents from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation learn that 7 months earlier, one of Tara's former students appeared uninvited at her home and tried to force his way inside.
He wanted to speak to her. She did not come to the door. He began to bang on the door. Basically, there started to become a disturbance.
I don't know if he read some signals wrong or if he just had a crush on her that he took too far.
I believe she just thought he might go away, but I think she realized that he wasn't going away, so she came to the door. They spoke briefly, and I think she tried to go back inside. She then started to shut her door, and He grabbed her on the arm. She pulled away and was able to shut the door.
At the time, Ocilla police are unable to get the former student to calm down, so he is arrested for disorderly conduct. According to Tara's handwritten statement to police, he invaded my privacy in my own home. While doing so in a raging and out-of-control manner, I was very scared for my well-being, as well as concerned about him.
His actions at the house did concern us, that there was some sort of a connection between he and Tara.
She never told me that she had any kind of inappropriate relationship with him. I don't think she did.
Still, the former student's strange behavior is reason enough for investigators to look for a connection with Tara's disappearance.
We thought it critical to interview him immediately. He was working at a job in Milledgeville, Georgia, about 100 miles away, and we immediately had an agent in that area find him.
The former student is able to account for his time on the night that Tara disappeared. Meanwhile, investigators keep digging into Marcus Harper and his relationship with Tara. In February of 2002, Marcus was deployed to Afghanistan. According to her sister, the separation and distance became difficult for Tara to deal with.
She said she really could not stay in that kind of relationship because if they go overseas and something bad happens to them, you know, you never find them, nobody knows anything.
I could tell after that things changed a lot for them. He changed and their relationship changed. But she just didn't want to quit. She loved him.
Tara and Marcus end their relationship, but remain in close contact.
They still saw each other occasionally. They still talked and emailed and called. And so Tara took that as there was still some kind of relationship.
Then, 3 weeks before Tara disappears, Marcus returns home to Ocilla, but doesn't contact her.
He had not told Tara he was home. Tara found out that he was back in Ocilla in Irwin County from a third party, and that made her very upset.
That really devastated her. She felt betrayed, and at that point I said, okay, look, he didn't want you to know he was back. And I remember saying to her, you know, now it's the time you move on, but she just could not quite get over Marcus.
Investigators learn that Tara calls Marcus from her car and confronts him about not getting in touch.
She was coming back from class in Waycross when she had engaged in a telephone conversation with Marcus Harper.
Marcus tells Tara that their relationship is over once and for all. According to friends and family, she has an emotional breakdown on the road.
She called hysterically and just felt like she was not able to drive. And one person went and picked her up, and the other passenger drove her car home. So they took her back to her house, and from what I understand, you know, they had to carry her in, and she was just so, you know, hysterical, crying.
Tara's fragile emotional state worries those closest to her.
I said, Tara, I mean, in these exact words, do you need anything? Do we need to do anything for you? Are you okay? You are not thinking about suicide. No, I promise you, I'm not, and that is not it. She said, I'm a little depressed, which everybody gets, but I am not suicidal.
Tara's family believes that she would never have committed suicide, regardless of how depressed she may have been over Marcus.
She was just not that type of person. She would not have done that to our mother. There's absolutely no way, regardless of how, you know, distraught or upset she was.
Agents at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation come to the same conclusion.
The possibility of suicide was something that was certainly considered, but after a few days and she hadn't been found, it made it much less likely, because when one commits suicide, it's quite difficult to dispose of your own body. So we believe that had that occurred, we would have found her already.
In the meantime, investigators continue to gather information from Marcus Harper. In a series of interviews, he accounts for his time on the night Tara disappeared.
He said that on Saturday night, he had gone to the White Horse Saloon in Fitzgerald, where he visited with some friends until approximately 2 in the morning.
After that, Marcus says he met up with his friend and former partner on the Ocilla Police Department and spent the night in a police cruiser, doing a ride-along.
We were able to corroborate that as best it could be corroborated. There was, no point that he didn't cooperate with us in the investigation.
For the moment, investigators' focus shifts away from Marcus Harper. Then, the business card found on Tara's front door provides a new lead. Agents learn that it belongs to a police officer from a nearby town, a married man.
We learned that he and Tara were very close. He had been trying to contact Tara all day Sunday and had left a number of messages on her answering machine.
A neighbor tells police that he was a frequent visitor to Tara's house.
He went down there and left his card in the door so that when she got home that she would know that he had been by there.
Investigators interview the officer, and he provides an alibi for his time the night Tara disappeared.
He was interviewed and gave a very thorough timeline of his actions over the last couple of weeks.
They put his family through questioning and the people he was with that night. The thing is if he had anything to do with it, he wouldn't have gone down there and left a business card and door,
Four days after Tara's disappearance, investigators find themselves back at square one. Desperate to uncover tangible evidence, they organize a large-scale search for Tara.
A organized, comprehensive ground search took place of the entire perimeter of Irwin County.
We had horses, we had airplanes, people volunteered, we had four-wheelers, four-wheel drive vehicles, we had people walking.
The massive search effort uses every tool available in Irwin County's arsenal. Dozens of agencies and hundreds of volunteer searchers take part in the effort to find Tara.
It's a very emotional thing, especially when you know the area they're going, when you know they're looking in open, deep wells, when you know they're going through swamps, when you know they're looking in abandoned grain bins.
It was pretty intense. It was long hours, long hours. Usually the searches would go on from, say, 9 o'clock 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning until dark.
Most of them did not know Tara. They had never met Tara. And you've got hundreds of strangers coming to search for this beautiful person that has vanished.
Despite the massive effort, none of the searches come up with any evidence related to Tara's disappearance.
It makes you feel helpless because, you want to solve these problems and, you want to catch the bad guy. There's one involved.
The one thing good that came out that we didn't find her, was what it gave us hope, of course, that she was still alive.
With the search effort yielding no leads, the latex glove found in Tara's yard looms as a piece of potentially critical evidence. Since it was recovered, forensic tests have been ongoing, but agents are circumspect.
We weren't real hopeful that we would be able to retrieve meaningful DNA or fingerprint evidence from it, but we had to try. So once we obtained the glove, we took it to the GBI crime lab in Atlanta.
Forensic scientists put the glove through a battery of tests, including one looking for the presence of DNA. It's a long shot because, according to police, it's very difficult to recover useful evidence from latex gloves.
If you process for fingerprints first, it will destroy DNA evidence. If you process for DNA evidence, you may destroy or somehow cause problems with the fingerprint evidence. They basically cut it up based on the probability of which section of the glove would reveal which type of evidence and processed it accordingly.
We all watch TV, and on CSI, they do the DNA, and, we know everything within 30 minutes, but, it's weeks and weeks and weeks to get results back. And, it's very frustrating to just, sit and wait.
Despite the long odds, investigators hit the jackpot.
We were able to recover both fingerprint evidence and DNA evidence.
The fingerprints found on the glove are only partial prints, limiting their use in the investigation.
Fortunately, we also had DNA on the glove, male DNA.
Thanks to the DNA evidence, GBI agents finally have a powerful lead in Tara's disappearance.
The DNA evidence lets us know that a male was at Tara's house and either wearing or had a glove in their possession.
Coming up, police look for a DNA match, believing that person may be responsible for Tara's disappearance.
We began swabbing pretty much any associate of Tara's that we came across.
And later,
volunteers are back searching for Tara Grinstead.
the news media descends on Ocilla, potentially compromising the investigation.
When you lose control of the flow of information, you don't know what you lost.
Get more Disappeared online at investigation.discovery.com. The investigation into Tara Grinstead's disappearance has been in full force for 10 days. Investigators recovered DNA evidence from the latex glove found at Tara's residence, suggesting that an unknown male was on Tara's property during the time she disappeared.
We knew that we were looking for a male potential offender. So at that point, we ensured that we obtained DNA samples from most everyone we could associate with Tara.
She met hundreds of people every day, and she was such a personable person and smiled, and she would introduce herself to anybody.
Any male that came in contact with Tara, whether it was at her high school, at one of the colleges she went to, there's very few people that I know that they haven't swabbed.
Agents collect the DNA of 144 men that had any contact with Tara, no matter how distant.
Essentially, all you do is take a swab of the inside of someone's cheek and submit that swab for comparison against the questioned DNA. In our case, the DNA from the glove.
But when the samples of DNA are compared, there is no match with any of Tara's male associates. Investigators find no match with the National DNA Database either.
We've investigated everyone that we know of that was closely associated with Tara, and we can't find anything to indicate that any of them are responsible for her disappearance.
But investigators can't eliminate any of the men in Tara's life either. They might have had an accomplice whose DNA was left on the glove.
Maybe someone was involved in moving Tara's body. Maybe someone was involved in cleaning up, whatever evidence may have been at her residence before we arrived.
The lack of conclusive evidence frustrates investigators. Although each of Tara's close male associates provide credible alibis, none can account for every minute of their time during the 34 hours between when Tara was last seen and when she was discovered missing.
It's difficult for anyone to account for every hour of every day and provide an alibi for that. There are times that they're alone and nobody knows exactly what they're doing.
Because so much is unknown, investigators still need to consider all possibilities surrounding Tara's disappearance.
She left on her own, that she was trying to make some point to resolve one of her relationships, that any of these people that we encountered in the first day or days thereafter could have gotten into an altercation with her, or that there could be just a random offender out there that saw Tara as a crime of opportunity. Nothing was beyond the possibility, and nothing is. So as much as we'd love to clear people, say that they had no involvement, we're unable to do so because we don't know what happened to Tara.
As time drags on and Tara isn't found, investigators face an unexpected new challenge.
Turning our attention now to the case of that missing Georgia high school teacher, Tara Grinstead.
Volunteers are back searching for Tara Grinstead.
Growing attention from the national news media makes a sensitive investigation difficult to manage.
The entire interior of the residence and exterior was being broadcast as newscaster after newscaster toured the residence, videoed it, and put it on the air.
Your possible crime scene is all of a sudden exposed to the national media. That's just something that law enforcement isn't used to having happen.
According to both Ocilla Police and the GBI, confidential details of their investigation are reported by the news media without their knowledge or consent.
Things that were in the residence that we might have used to trip up somebody in an interview was gone.
Investigators never wanted their discovery of the latex glove to become public knowledge, but it did.
Once it became public, anyone that we interviewed that may have been responsible for Tara's disappearance and was the one that left that glove knew we had it. You might think that he had dropped it somewhere else, or I may not even realize he'd left a glove behind at all.
Equally troubling, private citizens set up tip lines, but sometimes neglect to share information with law enforcement.
One well-known tip line was actually going to the cell phone of a bounty hunter. What information may have been lost because of that, I can't imagine. When you lose control of the flow of information, you don't know what you lost.
The sometimes intrusive media coverage also stokes the fires of accusation.
With all the media attention, there were a lot of armchair sleuths all over the country that were contacting us and some conducting their own investigation.
One website, called Backward State, goes so far as to present excerpts from one of GBI agent Gary Rothwell's television interviews, played backwards. The amateur sleuth claims that the interview audio played in reverse reveals hidden clues about the people responsible for Tara's disappearance.
I was identifying the true offender, and all you had to do was play my interview backwards. It was amazing.
Then, perhaps due to the media blitz, several new tips promising information into Tara's disappearance come in.
I got a phone call and was told that there had been a fire not too far out of town, and they said, I don't want to upset you, but I just need to prepare you. There is a chance that it could be connected to Tara.
There was a residence a few miles from Osceola where a house burned and a vehicle burned. There were some theories developed that that arson was used to cover up evidence of Tara's abduction.
GBI agents and support personnel go to the burned-out house to investigate.
We headed to that scene as fast as possible, coordinating, having appropriate personnel to process it.
Anytime there's burned bodies or the remains of something are found, it's the first thing that goes through my mind, you know, is it her?
But the search effort yields nothing.
Nothing at the arson scene was found that could be associated with Tara.
In the beginning, every time what sounded like a viable tip would come in, we would immediately think, this is it. After the first probably 2 or 3 times that happened, you learn to be guarded in your optimism.
Over the next few months, more tips come in, but none bring investigators any closer to finding Tara.
There's been many times when we had what we call he ain't right moments, where we've encountered people in this investigation that their behaviors didn't seem appropriate. That's happened lots of times. Unfortunately, we haven't found evidence to support those feelings. Most of the time, we found evidence completely to the contrary.
Three years go by without any meaningful leads. Then, there is a bizarre development in the case.
I decided to confess a few things. I decided to do it on YouTube because there's millions of people that could help play my game.
With his face and voice digitally distorted, a man calling himself the Catch Me Killer posts an anonymous video online.
I want to confess to 16 murders. But in order to do so, I'm going to give everybody a clue. Many clues.
He claimed that he was a serial killer. He claimed that he had murdered 16 people, and he alluded to the fact that Tara was one of them.
The video doesn't refer to Tara by name, but cites details that clearly identify her, including the date of her disappearance.
He claimed that he had slit her throat, and he made reference to her screams into the night and said something about, but my blade, she could not fight. It was just horrible things that he said.
It was almost a sickening feeling to have an individual get up there and say those kind of things.
The GBI quickly launches an investigation to identify and apprehend the man claiming to have murdered Tara Grinstead.
Here we have a guy who's basically claiming that he's killed a woman we've been looking for 4 years. We had to find him.
Coming up, investigators zero in on the Catch Me Killer.
We executed search warrants on the basis that Tara was a victim of a crime and that he was the perpetrator. We were looking for evidence of her disappearance and possible murder.
By February 2009, Tara Grinstead has been missing for almost 3.5 years. There are still no suspects in her disappearance. But now, a man calling himself the Catch Me Killer posts an anonymous video online. With his voice and likeness digitally obscured, he claims to have killed 16 people, including Tara Grinstead.
Once all 16 bodies are found, you'll know exactly who I am, because I have knowledge that the police know about, the FBI know about, but you don't.
Investigators note that the Catch Me Killer appears to possess intimate knowledge of Tara's life.
He described Tara's occupation, Tara's participation in beauty pageants, locations on Highway 32, which ran right through Ocilla, Georgia. There was no question he was talking about Tara.
I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, just hanging on every minute for information. I thought, you know, this is what we've been waiting for, and this is going to be the answer. We're going to finally know what happened to her.
Officials from several agencies join forces to track down the self-confessed killer. Agents get search warrants in order to locate the computer used to post the video.
What we did is ultimately traced the posting of that YouTube video to a couple of locations in Gainesville, Georgia, in Hall County, Georgia.
Investigators identify the man behind the video as Andrew Scott Haley. They raid his home and other locations in Georgia and seize his computer, camera, and writings. Within hours, they determine that Haley's video confession is a hoax.
He thought it was just a game, and he thought he could dupe people, and he somehow took pleasure in doing that. I don't think he gave any consideration to the harm that he was causing the victims' families and others that cared about Tara.
I still cannot understand what this person must have said to himself every day to justify what he was doing and to tell himself that it was okay. This was not a teenage prank. This was a grown, married man with children of his own.
Haley is found guilty of felony tampering with evidence and making false statements, and sentenced to 10 years in prison. As a first offender, he'll serve just 2 years in a work-release jail. Today, the Grinstead case file is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's biggest active case. Finding Tara still hinges on making a DNA match to the latex glove found outside her home.
It's almost amazing that we haven't gotten a hit yet. If someone is responsible for Tara's disappearance, it's highly likely we haven't talked to them yet.
Investigators still believe the case will eventually be solved.
We have evidence. We have DNA evidence. We have fingerprint evidence. It's not like we have nothing. We have a lot of information. We just don't know what it all means.
In the meantime, Tara's family and friends continue to wait.
Is she gone? Is she dead? When you just don't know any answers, you don't have a way of controlling your emotions.
It's a horrible situation for anybody to have to go through. It's worse than death. Death is final. Someone vanishing, it's not final until you find them.
You see how hurt these people are at the loss or disappearance of their loved one, and you want to put an end to that.
I've never experienced anything like that. I do have girls of my own. I just can't imagine what it would feel like if one of those were in a situation like Tara.
With Tara missing now for more than 5 years, her family is desperate for closure on their tragedy.
I just feel like her family deserves the truth. Anybody's family deserves to know the truth.
We wanted to believe and still believe that somebody out there has the information that we're looking for, and for whatever reason has just not found the courage to come forward with it.
We're at the point now where we used to pray that we wouldn't find her. Now we're afraid we won't, and we pray that we will, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of, what we find.
It's Saturday morning, February 7th, 2004. Fred Murray is driving to pick his daughter Maura up from the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Little does he know that in only 3 days, she will disappear.
When Maura got to UMass, I'd go up there once a month or so. In fact, the weekend, last weekend I saw her. I was up at UMass and we went searching to find a car. So get her a car, you know, to go to do her nursing clinical trips and stuff like that.
21-year-old Maura Murray has juggled a busy college schedule, running track and cross country, and working 2 part-time jobs. Besides studying, she must do work for her nursing degree that requires long drives from campus.
Now, Maura had a car with her in Amherst, but the car was falling apart. It was really time for her to get a new car.
Maura's rundown car will figure prominently in her disappearance 3 days later.
And we had one picked out, and we're going to go up there next weekend and get it. But that didn't happen. It would have been safe. I wish I had bought it that weekend.
According to Fred Murray and Maura's friends at the time at UMass, it seemed to be a pretty normal weekend. Her father was visiting, everything seemed fine.
And that night in Amherst, we went to the Amherst brew pub and had supper. Whenever we went to some place, especially if it's a college town or something like that, if we could find a brew pub, we would go to it, you know.
But the events of that weekend would create a mystery even her closest friends can't explain.
Maura and I grew up in a small town called Hanson, Massachusetts. We had a tight group of friends and we stayed close all the way through high school and into college and always stayed in touch.
There was 7 of us that were always together. If something was really bothering Maura, she definitely would have come out and one way or the other hinted at something was wrong.
The last time we hung out with Maura, everything seemed totally normal. We didn't notice anything different with her.
Maura's life seems to be on the right track, both at school and with her family. Her friends know Maura is particularly close to her father.
The first basketball team Maura and I played on, our dads were both coaches. Maura and her dad were very close growing up. She lived with her mom, but her dad was here picking her up for practices, bringing her to games.
Her parents divorced when she was 6 years old, and she remained living with her mother, but she maintained a very close relationship with her father.
It seemed like the last weekend Maura and her dad had spent together was pretty typical of their relationship.
After enjoying their brewhouse dinner that Saturday night, Fred lets Maura borrow his new car. She drops him off at his motel. Then the weekend takes a sudden and unexpected turn.
Sunday morning, Maura woke me up. She had come back, you know, during the night and told me that she had had an accident in my car.
She was involved in an accident in Hadley, Mass, where she went off the road and struck a set of guardrails. She was driving her father's new car at the time and did about $10,000 worth of damage.
Well, Maura was upset, and it haunts me, but, you know, I think she felt she let her father down.
At 4:49 a.m. Sunday morning, a distraught Maura calls her long-distance boyfriend, Billy Roush, who is stationed in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Billy later shares the conversation with his mother, Sharon.
So she calls Billy, and he talked with her. He calmed her down. And then he promised her that he would call her back later in the day.
Maura and Billy have been dating since 2001. They met while both were attending West Point.
From the moment I met her, I knew that she loved my son, you know, and of course that endeared her to me.
When Maura decided to transfer from West Point to UMass, Billy and Maura continued their relationship, spending many holidays and summers with Billy's family.
By the time that She was here over the holidays in 2003 and early 2004. They shared that, you know, they were talking of getting married.
I think Mara looked at Sharon as if she was a second mom. She always went out there, and we knew that she was excited to go.
To describe Mara is a challenge. I don't want to say she's complex, but she was so multifaceted, you know? She could be serious, she could be so funny and witty. She always had this little soft giggle, and she was very soft-spoken, but she was fun-loving. She loved life, she loved to laugh.
The next day, when Fred Murray sees his daughter, she's still upset about the accident.
I drove her back to the dorm. I could see she was still upset. I told her it would be all right. It was going to be covered. It would be okay, you know? And she went into the dorm, and that's the last I ever saw of her, which will haunt me forever.
A few hours later, at 11:26 p.m., Maura speaks on the phone with her father one final time.
Checked on my insurance. I called her back, said, you know, we're okay. The insurance will be taken care of, so I'm not going to be out a lot of money. I said, you're going to have to make out accident reports, probably in triplicate. So get the 3 forms from the police station or wherever you have to get them, and call me tomorrow night, you know, 8 o'clock.
But Maura's call to her father will never take place, and her actions will surprise everyone who knows her.
There was no death in the family. She did lie.
The car would get fixed, and
she was looking for different directions up to New Hampshire, and I think onto Burlington, Vermont. I mean, it would seem a little strange, especially since classes had just started.
No one knows what Maura was planning the day before she disappears, but her last cell phone calls leave clues.
We have Maura's cell phone records because her cell phone was an additional line to Billy's cell phone. So, you know, Billy not only gave her a phone for Christmas, he paid the monthly bill. When his bill came, then, you know, we automatically saw all the calls that she made.
At 12:55 p.m. Monday, February 9th, 2004, Maura calls the owner of a Bartlett, New Hampshire condo rental. Her father recognizes the town. It's a place Maura knew well.
She was going to Bartlett, there's no question. She was going to Bartlett, and that's what she knows, she's familiar with. She stayed in every place in Bartlett. She can get a room there, and even if she can't, she knows other places. Maura has been coming up here since she was born.
Mara grew up every summer and parts of winters and springs and falls going all up through New Hampshire. She's hiked so many of those mountains up there with her dad.
They wanted to do the highest mountains as best they could, and she loved hiking.
Maura's friends know her to be very athletic, excelling at many sports.
Mara played just about every sport possible growing up. Mara and I were always on the same teams, and we were captains of the cross-country team senior year. But she was always the one leading the pack and winning most of just about all of the races, and including doing top finishes in the state.
She was recruited to West Point for her running ability.
After transferring from West Point, she attended the University of Massachusetts Amherst, where she ran track and cross country. Back at her dorm room that February afternoon, just hours before her disappearance, Maura sends an email to her boyfriend.
He did receive an email from her that day, around 1 or 1:30, and in that email, she told him that she loved him and that she was sorry she hadn't returned his messages from the day before. She hadn't felt like talking to much of anyone.
Whatever Maura's state of mind is, She makes a number of phone calls that afternoon.
Mara made another phone call to 1-800-GO-STOW, which is a reservation phone line for hotels in the Stowe, Vermont area. But research shows that at the time that Mara called, the line was actually out of order. So Mara could listen to listings for different hotels, but she could not actually make a reservation on this line. But that just shows that Mara, again, was looking for a place to stay in the Vermont, New Hampshire area.
Then, 13 minutes after phoning the Go Stowe hotline, Maura calls her boyfriend, but gets his voicemail.
She didn't say much other than promising to call him. Sorry she missed him.
Maura hasn't told anyone she's thinking about leaving town. She finally shares her plans, but it's not with anybody close to her.
Mara had sent an email to her nursing professors. I don't know word for word, but in it she told them that she needed to be away for a week due to a death in the family.
Her friends know there has been no death in Maura's family.
We thought it was a little bizarre when we first heard that Mara had sent an email to professors saying, "There's a death in the family, I have to take off for a week."
Not really like her, but if something was going on, she did need to get away, then kind of explains it. Why she didn't call one of us, I don't know. I mean, maybe we could have helped her out, figured something out together.
She did lie, but, you know, Mara was not a liar.
Around 3:30, we assume Mara got into her car at UMass Amherst and left the campus. Her first stop was to an ATM machine where she withdrew $280. That pretty much depleted Mara's account with that bank. Mara then stopped at a local liquor store. At the liquor store, Mara bought a bottle of Kahlua, a bottle of Bailey's, a bottle of vodka, and a box of red wine.
Maura's stop to the liquor store is known because the receipt of what she purchases is later found in her wrecked car.
Kahlua, Bailey's, and vodka are known for making a White Russian. No one understands why Mara bought such a large quantity of alcohol for if she was traveling alone.
There was surveillance camera at the ATM, so we could see still photographs where she walked up to the ATM, withdrew the money, and there didn't appear to be anybody in the background or anywhere that we could see from the camera photos.
It's 4:37 p.m., and phone records show Maura checks her voicemail. This is the last known call from Maura's cell phone. Presumably, at this point in the afternoon, she's now driving towards New Hampshire.
She had an extremely adventurous sense of spirit. When we first heard that Mara had taken off and gone up to New Hampshire, it seemed a little odd to us, but not totally, because I remember a day in high school that she decided she just wanted to go off and do something different, so she hopped on the train herself, went to Boston, didn't necessarily tell us, but by the end of the day she was back after all of us had been spending the whole day trying to track her down.
The next day, Maura's father will hear the worst news of his life.
Your daughter's missing. She's in an accident. The police don't seem to know where she is.
It's Monday afternoon, February 9th, 2004. Momentarily, this 21-year-old nursing student will go missing. It seems she's planning a getaway, but connecting the clues is complicated.
As to why Maura left, I don't know. In my position as father, you would think that maybe there would have been something said, but I have no hint. I thought everything was okay, you know?
Some think perhaps Maura is not doing well at school, and that's why she's leaving.
I wasn't aware of any stuff like school troubles. She was on the dean's list in a very difficult program, a nursing program. Hard to get in, hard to do well in.
When it came to academics, she was always very serious, and one of the top members of our class by the time we all graduated.
The recipients this year are the 5 top-ranking students in the senior class. The awards are $400 to Maura Murray.
I think everybody felt that she was doing okay at school, but there also were some issues, I think, that were causing her great stress in her private life.
Around 5 p.m., Monday, February 9th, this Dean's List student is on the road, driving a rundown car hours away from her dorm, without telling anybody where she is going.
I knew she was having car trouble. We had gotten her a AAA membership with the long-distance towing because we were concerned about her.
It was pretty cold. The road was slippery.
Fred Murray is tracing his daughter's last known steps.
She went west on, I would say, what is it, 116 into Route 91, which we're on now.
She's driving away from her UMass Amherst dorm towards New Hampshire.
She's going to take this right down until she finds 112 East. This is what she was looking for. I wish she had gone straight.
And after traveling over 140 miles,
Maura is not familiar with this area.
Around 7:30 p.m., her car veers off the road.
Maura came around the corner, and so the car wasn't running properly. It impacted right down here. There was a big snowbank here. It's so dark here. If you're looking in this direction, you can't see your hand in front of your face.
This is Maura's second car accident in 3 days. A school bus driver stops to help her.
I just asked her how she was. She said she was shaken up. I couldn't see any blood on her face. And she was shaking like this. I says, okay, I'm going to go call the police.
What the bus driver told us, she didn't appear to be hurt. He offered to call the police for assistance, and she really asked him not to. She said that she had called AAA, but it being in the location of the mountains, he also knew that there was no cell phone coverage there. So he was quite convinced that she hadn't been able to make that call. So he went home, which was a short distance down the road, and called the local police department.
Around 10 minutes later, at 7:45 p.m., police arrive at the accident scene, looking for any trace of the driver.
The police officer at the scene noticed that the windshield was broken in front of where the driver would be seated. The airbags had gone off. There was damage to the front end of the vehicle. When he got there, he found that there was nobody with the vehicle.
In the blink of an eye, this vivacious, athletic young co-ed disappears.
He noticed that there was a box of wine, like a 5-liter box of wine, behind the driver's side seat. He could see that through the window. He noticed in the snow what appeared to be something pink that had been poured into the snow. Subsequently, when they removed the vehicle, he found a Coke bottle, and it smelled like there had been an alcoholic beverage in that bottle.
I spoke with the one witness that actually talked to Maura Murray that night at the accident scene. That witness says that Maura appeared a bit shook up, but she did not appear intoxicated.
There didn't appear to be any evidence at the scene which would indicate anything other than she had left the scene under her own power. There wasn't any evidence of a struggle of any kind. The vehicle was locked.
The police officer at the scene of the accident searches the surrounding area. Maura is nowhere to be found.
Well, the initial accident investigation, led the police officers to believe that this was simply a case of someone who had been involved in a motor vehicle accident and did not wish to, at least initially that night, have contact with the police.
next day, police speak on the phone with Maura's family.
As a result of those conversations, they then became concerned that Maura might be depressed. Her father described it, that she was depressed in having crashed his car on Saturday night.
Fred Murray remembers receiving the shocking and mystifying news.
The way I felt was just the world just stopped. Your daughter's missing. She's in an accident in the woods, way up and not in New Hampshire. The police don't seem to know where she is. I couldn't, I wanted to get up here immediately.
The next morning, Maura's boyfriend receives a strange voicemail message.
The message basically, in and of itself, was just a woman breathing and then possibly a whimper or some sort of noise at the end, which we believe to be her.
Get more Disappeared online at investigationdiscovery.com.
I don't know why she came to New Hampshire. I don't know. You know, I'd be guessing the same with everybody else.
It's Wednesday, February 11th, 2004. Fred Murray has just driven all night from his work in Bridgeport, Connecticut, after hearing his daughter's car has been abandoned, far away from her dorm room, and she is nowhere to be found.
I get up here at daybreak, you know, to join the search.
Maura's mother, Lori, is living a mother's worst nightmare. She's unable to leave her home in Hanson, Massachusetts to join the search due to a fractured ankle.
Eventually, you know, the rest of my family showed up, and Bill Roush, Maura's boyfriend, and his mother and father, Bill and Sharon, showed up.
But during his trip from Fort Sill, Oklahoma to New Hampshire, Maura's boyfriend, Billy, receives a mysterious voice message on his cell phone.
Billy called frantic around 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning. And he says, Mom, he said, while I was going through security, I missed a call. And he said, I'm sure it was Maura.
The message basically, in and of itself, was just a woman breathing and then possibly a whimper or some sort of noise at the end, which we believe to be her.
He said there was some, you know, really soft sobbing and shivering sounds and sniffing. And he said, I don't know what to do. He said, I called it back, and it says it's a prepaid calling card.
They have hope the call is from Maura, since Sharon knows Maura uses prepaid calling cards.
Before Maura had her cell phone, she called Billy with prepaid calling card. And when Maura was here for Thanksgiving in 2003, I gave her 2 prepaid calling cards. And so that's always, you know, added to our belief that it's very likely that Maura made that very unusual call that Billy received that morning.
Once in New Hampshire,
saying about a half a mile radius to start. Again, we're looking for any sign, so had she gone into the woods, she had to have left some sign behind.
We got the state police helicopter up there the first thing the next morning to do a search.
It was a brand new glove that Maura had just gotten for Christmas. But if they had asked me, I'd have given them something that she used all the time, like running gear or something like that. But
we just want to make sure we're doing everything that we can to locate this missing girl and get her back to her family.
Police question Maura's boyfriend and speak with his parents.
After we arrived in Haverhill on Wednesday, Billy was questioned extensively. They give us a press release.
Maura is described as endangered and possibly suicidal.
Well, in any press release, you want to let the public know, especially if you're looking for help. So you want to give those details so that someone who lives in the area or wherever will just be on the lookout for something out of the ordinary. So that information was included in the early press releases that she might be depressed and she may have come up here to harm herself.
So they proceed to tell us that there's no evidence of foul play. Mara is 21 years old. She is an adult. She has the right and the privilege to go missing of her own choice. We're thinking, oh, this can't be. She's gone. That's our foul play. Our Mara is gone.
And while her family and friends are trying not to lose hope,
Maura's loved ones are interviewed by the media. They hope to get the news of her disappearance out to
desperate. It's not something we want to dwell on, but we're keeping, we're trying to stay logical and rational. And it just appears that someone more than likely picked her up with bad intentions.
I don't think she's able to contact us. There was no way that she would ever not contact us.
No matter what, they still cling to hope that somewhere out there, Maura may be listening.
Everybody's here looking for you, and just call any one of us, and we'll come right down and get you. Don't be afraid, please.
I love you, Maura. I miss you so much, obviously you know that. And the sooner that I get to see you and be with you again, obviously, the better.
So please, kid, if you're listening to me, we can just bang away at this stuff.
Back to the motel on Friday, February 13th. She had her running clothes. She had a bag with her school books, which include her syllabus. So it shows every intent on doing her schoolwork while she was away. She had every intent on maintaining her, her exercise regimen.
Also found in Maura's car was a book titled Not Without Peril. It was a book chronicling different hikers that had gone into the presidential range of New Hampshire's mountains, and they either never returned or they were badly injured.
Book Not Without Peril was in Maura's car because Maura and I climbed in Mount Washington, and when you read the book, it mentions all these different trails and all the different adventures, some ending happily, some ending in death. People have frozen to death up there. But for the most part, it's uplifting.
Some people speculate, why was Maura reading this particular book? A book about hikers that go into the mountains and never return. But others say this was just one of Maura's favorite books.
With nothing to go on but hope, Maura's family is determined to continue looking for her. During their search, Maura's sister discovers a disturbing potential clue.
Women's underwear were found right down here, more on top of the ice than buried in it. We turned the underwear into the state police, but never heard another word.
There were some items of clothing that were turned into law enforcement. We did forensic testing on those and were able to determine that they were not, in fact, belonging to Maura.
After weeks of constant searching,
I've searched all down through here.
Devastated and exhausted, Maura's loved ones return home.
I personally search any place that would be significant to her, that would be meaningful, that we went to a lot, that would be special for Maura, but she hadn't been to any of those places.
But witnesses are about to come forward, including one who claims to have seen the young Maura Murray.
The young woman had her arms folded in front of her and seemed to be mouthing the words, "Help me."
In the days and months after that fateful February 9th, 2004, when his daughter disappears from the scene of her one-car accident, Fred Murray hopes for answers, even though there seems to be no leads and no suspects.
Fred, God has just really blessed him and giving him the strength. At his age, he goes up there week after week after week, and he keeps searching the sides of the roads. He keeps searching the woods.
Months after Maura's disappearance, Sharon and Fred decide to do more follow-up, investigating Maura's final cell phone calls themselves.
It wasn't until Fred and I decided in the fall of 2004 that we were going to go back to square one and check some things out that I called these phone numbers.
Hello? I picked up the phone and it was Sharon. She had said that she obtained Maura's cell phone records and that I was one of the last people to speak with her and that she had gone missing.
Linda and her husband own a condo in Bartlett, New Hampshire. And Fred and Maura and Billy had stayed there in late summer of 2003. At the time that I learned this, I went online, and this condo by the Salamonis was the least expensive to rent. So I'm confident that that is why that Maura chose that one.
This 12:55 p.m. call on February 9th, 2004 lasts 3 minutes. Unfortunately, Linda Salamoni is unable to remember more about her conversation with Maura because she is contacted so many months afterwards.
I felt like I might have been able to help at that time if I had just received a phone call. I could have said, yes, she sounded distressed, or no, she was okay, and this is where she was heading, or whatever, any little bit. So then I felt very frustrated because I still, felt I might have been able to help.
One thing Linda is sure of, she didn't rent a condo to Maura that week.
There was no way for her to get in. We would have to give her the keys. We would make sure that we knew who we were renting it to.
Fred Murray is frustrated with the lack of progress in the case.
Fred has also filed a lawsuit against the state police of New Hampshire and the local police of New Hampshire, trying to obtain the records, the documents pertaining to the Maura Murray case.
My only relief would be the FBI coming in or getting the release of the case records myself. And neither one's going to happen because the court system backs up the state police.
Court decisions have ruled that records relating to the case cannot be released to the public, stating it would interfere with future law enforcement proceedings.
At some point, we may get that piece of evidence which says that she was the victim of a crime, and in solving that case, you want to be able to have everything that you've done from the beginning to that point forward admissible in court if you have to go to trial.
To add to the mystery and the frustration, reporter Maribeth Conway says she spoke to a witness who says she actually encountered Maura Murray, looking very distressed.
She saw a young woman with an older man, a man probably in his 60s. The young woman had her arms folded in front of her and seemed to be mouthing the words, "Help me." The woman finally realized what was happening, but before she really had a chance to do anything about it, the young woman and the man left. The woman did not get license plate numbers or any further of a description of this young girl. She swears that this young woman is Maura Murray.
We've had reported sightings of Maura in Rochester, New Hampshire, in Vermont, in other states. We've always determined that it was not, in fact, Maura.
The interesting thing about the Maura Murray case is that there are so many theories still to this day. Maura was possibly suicidal. She was possibly running away. She could also have been kidnapped.
When the press releases came out about her.
When Maura went missing, there were many things that were said. One of the things was that, Maura has run off with another boyfriend. And Billy, was confronted with this, and he said, I hope she has. If she is with another young man, then she is safe.
I think we never thought it would go past a few days. We just thought eventually she'd turn up and there'd be answers, and maybe she'd have a great story to tell after the fact. Some adventure happened. Never thought that 4.5 years later, 5 years later, we'd just have more questions than answers. So this is Mara's last email to the group of girls.
Maura's friends feel her last email to them proves she was not planning any sort of long-term getaway.
She writes, Dane Cook is playing at UMass, and we went to get tickets and it was sold out. I missed out again. But I did some research and he plays in Storrs, Connecticut, February 12th, not too from UMass. She points out that it's February 12th, so it would be 3 days after she actually went missing. So to me, it shows that that's not someone who was trying to take off permanently. She wouldn't just make plans and then completely ditch them in our minds.
We don't really know what happened to Mara, and though we learn more and more all the time, we don't seem to be able to solve this mystery.
To date, we haven't been able to come up with that answer, but it's certainly my hope, and I know the investigators working on this case, that we will one day have the answer for the family. Because I can't imagine what it's like not to know what happened to your daughter.
I think some local dirtbag grabbed her. And she was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
In our minds, one of two things had to have happened to Mara that night. And that was either she succumbed to the elements, which is possible, or someone harmed her. Because we are convinced that with the items that were packed in her car and the fact that there was no note, she was not planning on taking her life.
As the days have turned into months, and the months into years, Maura's closest friends still have trouble accepting the reality of her disappearance.
She's missing everything. I mean, we graduated from college, and she missed it. We don't have any more pictures of her. It's hard.
It's just hard to put into words. It's just one of those things you hear in the news or read about, but you just never assume that something had happened to you or one of your friends. Clearly, it's been 4.5 years and the emotions are still here.
We don't want Mara to be gone. We want her to be out there, starting a new life. But we have to face ourselves in the mirror and deal with what we know, the facts that we know. And now, after, all of this time, it's not just our minds that tell us that something has happened to Mara, it's our hearts too.
However heart-wrenching the answer is, Maura's father refuses to give up searching for his daughter.
I'm going to be up here all the time. I'm going to follow up any lead that a local gives me. I'm trying to do everything I can do. My conscience I wouldn't be able to stand myself if I didn't. I wouldn't be able to look at a picture of Mara if I knew that I wasn't doing everything I could possibly do. And it's just whatever time I have left, that's what I'm going to do with it. She was my buddy, and I don't have my buddy. I'm just my buddy.
Thursday, September 20th, 2007, is an ordinary autumn day in Bellevue, Washington, just east of Seattle. The day unfolds on schedule for 33-year-old Tanya Ryder.
15 minutes early, she was there on the dime.
Tanya's husband, 39-year-old Tom Ryder, also works 2 jobs. By day, he clears land for new housing. By night, he delivers pizza.
We were working insane hours, but we had a goal in sight.
They're building their dream house, overlooking the tranquil Puget Sound.
Well, the idea behind all of this work and all of these hours was to make sure we had enough money to complete the house.
Well, they felt that if they put in a lot of hard work and a lot of long hours, that they could eventually slow down and enjoy the house and each other.
Tanya and Tom have been happily married for 7 years. Like many couples, their personalities are actually quite different.
Tom is very vocal, very jovial, very outspoken. He's a prankster, whereas Tanya is very quiet. She doesn't speak unless she has something to say, and Tom will just talk your ear off.
I'm an outgoing, boisterous idiot. Tanya's the other half of me. She's able to keep me in line.
If you have Tanya here, you have Tom there to balance her. This is a marriage made in heaven.
For now, Tom and Tanya Ryder are living in a house in Maple Valley. Their heavy-duty routine leaves them with little time to relax. They pass through the house at different times and can easily go 3 or 4 days without seeing each other.
We had to schedule a time when our days off matched to actually even say hello. And that's pretty crazy.
On Wednesday evening, Tom and Tanya enjoy a rare moment of togetherness.
She was home that night when I got home, so we actually got to talk a little bit and have a little, family time. I made her laugh, she made me laugh.
Later that night, Tanya works her overnight shift at the grocery store in Bellevue. At 9 a.m. on Thursday morning, Tanya leaves the store and starts to head home.
Well, as far as I knew, Tanya was just going about her normal day. I mean, she would have been getting off work at 9 o'clock, having breakfast, and then heading home.
Little does Tom know, Tanya never makes it home that day. Three days since Tom last saw Tanya, he's on the job, clearing a housing tract in Maple Valley.
The city was requiring the wetlands be cleared of all what they called hostile vegetation, which is like blackberry bushes.
Around 10 a.m., Tom's cell phone rings. It's Tanya's boss at her daytime job in Bellevue.
She tells me that Tanya hasn't showed up to her last 2 shifts. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to get Tanya in trouble. Maybe she just overslept. I'm trying to keep my calm and telling her, I'll try and get a hold of Tanya and have her call you.
Concerned, Tom immediately calls Tanya's cell phone.
I started walking back to my truck and dialing Tanya's phone number. She didn't set up her voicemail, so it goes to the little message that says, the cellular customer you are trying to reach has not set up his voice mailbox yet.
Mailbox cannot accept new messages at this time. Please try again later. Goodbye.
She may not answer anyone else's calling in, but she'll answer mine. So now I'm starting to worry.
Tom drives to their home in Maple Valley, thinking that perhaps Tanya is there.
I make it to the door and I go, Tanya! And no answer, so I go and I check the downstairs. I double back and go up the staircase, and we have 3 bedrooms up there, and she's not in any of them.
Tom checks the garage. Tanya's car is not there.
The more I'm checking and not finding her, the more the panic is building inside me.
Desperate to locate Tanya, Tom makes an emergency phone call.
911, what are you reporting?
My wife didn't show up for work last night, and she's not home, and I haven't heard from her in 2 days. Can you just check and see if there are any accidents involving Tanya Ryder, R-I-D-E-R?
I'm not showing any injury accidents in that area, but I can connect you with State Patrol, and you can check if there are any injury accidents on the freeway.
The 911 operator tells him there are no reports of an accident on the highway either. But this doesn't bring Tom any relief. In a single morning, Tom's world is turned upside down.
So at this point, I start to I'm losing it. I start thinking about what could have happened.
For Tom, the reality of the situation starts to set in. No one has seen Tanya since she left her overnight shift at the grocery store Thursday morning.
Tom realizes, oh my God, she's been gone and unaccounted for in everybody's life for 2 days.
Coming up, the clock is ticking, and Tom is struggling to get police to investigate Tanya's disappearance.
I was furious. I was not gonna let them not do their job.
39-year-old Tom Ryder has just learned that his wife Tanya has not reported for work in 48 hours. She's not at home either, and she's not answering her cell phone.
I'm pretty much starting to panic at this point because Tanya will answer my phone calls when I call.
All of a sudden, she's not where she's supposed to be. He knew there was something wrong.
My adrenaline was pumping. I was having trouble breathing right. It's just, where is she?
There is one more place Tom Ryder thinks to check.
I'm headed to her second job, just in case that's my last safe possibility that's in my brain, is that they've changed her shift and she had to work at her second job.
On the highway to Bellevue, Tom keeps trying her cell phone. There's no answer.
So of course his mind starts playing mind games, the what if. Has someone kidnapped her? Is she alive? Is she dead?
Somebody stole her car, somebody robbed her at gunpoint. She's got amnesia and she's in the hospital and they stole her wallet and have her ID. All these different possibilities are just flooding into my mind.
Nearing Bellevue, Tom calls 911 again. This time, he wants to report his wife missing.
911 connects him with the Bellevue Police Department, and they make arrangements to meet him and interview him to see what's going on with his wife.
Minutes later, Tom arrives at the department store where Tanya works. He meets the store manager, and they start talking before the police arrive. The manager tells Tom that Tanya is due at the store within the hour for her regular shift at 1 o'clock that day. Tom waits anxiously to see if Tanya will show up for work.
My brain is still trying to cling to the safe possibilities. It's still trying to believe that she's gonna be here and everything's gonna be all right.
1 o'clock passes. No Tanya.
When she had a schedule, she stuck to it. And so Tom knows that when she has not shown up for work, he has a reason to be really alarmed.
For Tom, there is no longer any question about it. Tanya has truly disappeared.
It was painful and scary, and it was like someone had just torn duct tape off of my eyes. I was in a mode that I hope no one ever has to go through.
Soon, responding to Tom's 911 call, a Bellevue police officer arrives at the department store. He questions Tom.
What does your wife look like? When was the last time she was seen? What was she wearing? Have there been any disputes between you?
The officer determines Tanya's last known whereabouts were at her nighttime job. Immediately, they call the grocery store to speak with Tanya's boss, who is able to locate a security video that shows Tanya leaving the store at 9 a.m. on Thursday, September 20th. It's the last time anyone sees Tanya Ryder.
The tape showed Tanya leaving, walking into the parking lot, apparently normal, no one was following her.
They do have her leaving at 9 o'clock in the morning, Thursday the 20th, and getting into her car and driving away.
She didn't look stressed, like she was being followed.
Because the tape shows Tanya heading home to Maple Valley in her own car, on her own free will, the officer informs Tom he will have to refile a report with the King County Police. John Urquhart is a sergeant at that precinct.
Bellevue decided she lives in Maple Valley, our jurisdiction. Therefore, the King County Sheriff's Office will have jurisdiction.
Tom immediately heads back to his home in Maple Valley.
I know, based on a conversation I had with the officer, that I won't get referred to the right 911 operator until I get closer to home.
As soon as he crosses the county line, Tom calls 911 from the car. This time, he's connected to a King County emergency operator.
My wife is missing. My wife's name is Tanya Ryder.
He goes through the story again, and he couldn't find any record of her being in an automobile accident, so there had to be some other explanation of what had happened to her. And he was quite insistent. Something else is going on here. You need to help me.
Tom urges the King County operator to file a missing persons report for Tanya, but the operator declines to file the report. Before anything else can happen, the operator tells Tom, he must check the local hospitals and jails for Tanya.
The moment that I'm making those phone calls, calling the jails, calling the morgues, calling the hospitals, I'm praying that it's the wrong way, that I'm looking in the wrong direction, but I have to look.
There's no record of Tanya anywhere.
So I call back the 911 operator. She's not in any of your jails. She's not in any of your hospitals. She's not in any of your morgues. She's not at home. My wife is missing.
For a second time, Tom asks the operator to file a missing persons report for Tanya.
Just because she's missed work, did you guys have any arguments?
No.
Discussions, problems? Have you checked any of the other family members in the area?
A house in Maple Valley.
Have you contacted any other family members that she may go to?
And talked to her family members.
Again, the operator declines to file the report, insisting that Tom must try contacting Tanya's friends and family members.
History has told us in other cases, it's very, very important for family members to be contacted. Oftentimes that'll solve the case very quickly.
I haven't called her family in years. I called each and every one of them.
And they didn't have a close relationship, and they haven't heard from her in months.
Tom calls King County 911 a third time. He knows with each passing minute, Tanya could be in danger. So he pleads with the operator to take the report so the search for Tanya can begin.
He's very, very insistent. He says, I've called the family members, I've called the hospitals, I've called the morgue, I've called the jail. I've done all you've asked me to do.
They're gonna have to take a report now. Now it's their turn, is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking now they're gonna come on board, now they're gonna start looking for my wife.
But instead, the operator declines to file a missing persons report for a third time. He cites certain criteria that Tanya's disappearance must meet before it becomes an active case.
Is the person suicidal? Are they being treated for a mental health issue? Are they elderly? Is there some sort of suspicious circumstance that surrounds their disappearance?
But Tanya's disappearance does not meet any of them.
Can you send an officer over to at least take the report?
Officers don't take these reports in person. She does not meet criteria for it to take a missing persons report on. She is an adult. She's not been suicidal. What we're telling you is that she doesn't meet the criteria.
Tomorrow.
Okay. What we're telling you is that she doesn't meet the criteria. Okay. We don't go actively searching for missing people, sir.
Even the checkbooks are here. I'm telling you, something has happened to my wife.
The 911 operator suggests to Tom that Tanya likely left on her own.
She's a normal, adult, working female, and she disappeared, which is her right.
She's over the age of 18. She's an adult. She can go where she wants, and she doesn't have to tell you.
Shocked by the operator's refusal to file a missing persons report, Tom struggles to contain his anger.
You're treating it like, oh, well, this idiot, his wife just left him, and oh, hell with it. How long does she have to be missing before you'll take a report?
There is no set time.
What you're telling me is unless she turns up dead, you're not going to care.
At this point, I am trying very hard to keep an even keel in my voice. If I knew where he was, I would have been down there forcing his hand to write the report.
4 days after she was last seen, no official search for Tanya Ryder is underway. 3 911 calls from Tom Ryder have failed to initiate an investigation, and he fears that the longer it takes to start looking for her, the less likely they will find her alive. If Tanya is in danger, the police need to get involved, and the clock is ticking.
Tom at this point is at a loss for what to do without any help, so he has to take it on himself.
Tom contemplates going to the police station to make his case in person, but he fears that they too will reject his plea to start an investigation. Instead, he decides to take matters into his own hands by involving the media.
I figure I'm gonna force their hand. I figured I'm not gonna let them not look for my wife. I'm gonna call the media and make it loud and messy.
But the news station requires a police-issued case number in order to run a missing person story, to avoid inadvertently reporting false information.
It's a catch-22 because they can't run a story without a case number. And on the other hand, Tom can't get a case number. He has opened every door to obtain an answer, to point him in the right direction, to give him the next step, and all the doors are slammed in his face.
All he can do now is try to search for Tanya on his own. As night falls across the Northwest, Tom Ryder drives up and down the roads of Maple Valley, Washington, looking for his missing wife.
I was just driving back and forth, scanning the edges of the road, looking for any indication that a car had left the roadway.
He's looking everywhere. He's looking in people's windows as he drives by. He's looking for accident scenes. He's looking for grease on the highway.
I lost count on how many times I went back and forth. I was panicking.
Late that night, Tom thinks of one final scenario. Perhaps Tanya has retreated to the site of their future dream house.
Maybe she's just frazzled and she's out at the property trying to relax her nerves. I'm not believing it for 1 second, but there's no way I'm not going to go check.
Tom drives 92 miles to see if Tanya is there, but she is still nowhere to be found.
Hours are ticking by, minutes are ticking by, and Tanya is still missing.
Coming up, Tom fights to get his wife's case activated.
These people aren't helping me. In fact, they're standing in my way. And inside me, something snapped. I know I need their help. The chances of finding her were better with more people looking.
Four days have now passed since Tanya Ryder went missing. Tom makes his fourth call in 48 hours to 911.
Operator 65.
Hi, it's Tom Ryder again.
This time, to Tom's surprise, he gets a different response.
This different operator made a different subjective decision from the standpoint that Tom had done everything else we'd asked him to do, and she's still not home.
I believe that she suddenly met the criteria because they figured out that I wasn't going to go away.
What's going to happen is we're going to list her, and if someone runs her name anywhere in the country, they will know that she is missing and they'll call.
The King County Police finally agree to take a missing persons report.
And he's really kind of shocked. Wow, the door opened.
The name Tanya Ryder is finally in the system.
And they said, well, we're going to send an officer out to take your statement.
And that was a great relief for Tom. He couldn't relax, but at least he could grab a breath.
5 hours later, a King County police officer arrives at Tom's home in Maple Valley.
He hasn't even gotten out of the car yet, and I'm standing there waiting for him at his door. I tell him the same things that I told the 911 operator. I need your help to find my wife.
Tom invites the officer to search his home.
Yeah, I say, if you'd like to search my house, you don't need a warrant. You can look right now.
Tom wants the police department to know, I want you to do whatever you have to do in the least amount of time to do it in order to find my wife. There's something wrong. I feel like she's in danger.
Although Tom is being very forthcoming, in these cases, the husband often becomes the #1 suspect.
He asked me to wait in the driveway because he wants to search the house without me leading him or anything like that.
We're real interested in kind of looking around and determining, did she pack a bag or personal items missing, wallet, credit cards, money, that sort of thing.
He doesn't see any blood spatter. He doesn't see furniture turned upside down. He doesn't see any indication of dispute.
He noticed the things that I was telling him, that her paychecks were on the banister, her bank card was on the counter.
Nothing was missing from the house, and in fact, some of her credit cards were still there.
The officer tells Tom that a King County sergeant will still have to determine whether or not a detective will take the case.
So again, Tom is kind of one step forward, two steps back.
But meanwhile, Tanya's disappearance has a case number now, so the media will run the story.
He gets it out on the news to let the public know that his wife is missing.
Bellevue police say a surveillance tape shows the 33-year-old 5'10" blonde woman getting into her car and driving away as normal as can be.
Tom says there is no reason for her to run away, and now he's putting up a $25,000 reward to help find her.
I called every local media outlet at this point. I was going to make sure there was going to be an investigation.
It's the 5th day since Tanya Ryder went missing. After another sleepless night, Tom goes to work.
It's the only thing I knew to keep my mind from going over the endless scenario of possibilities. If I was doing nothing, I was thinking these horrific thoughts.
After seeing all the news coverage, Tom's boss asks his employees to draw up hundreds of flyers. They email copies to as many people as they can.
By 10 o'clock that morning, they had flyers from Canada all the way down to Oregon and all the way over to Utah.
They, of all the people, knew what type of a couple Tom and Tanya Ryder were and how devastated Tom was. So anything that they could do and jump in and help him, they were there.
At King County Police Headquarters, officials finally decide to hand Tanya's case to a detective.
So we didn't find anything that really told us she left voluntarily, nothing that said she didn't leave voluntarily or had been a victim of foul play. So at that point, there certainly was enough questions as to where she was, so the detectives needed to do follow-up work beginning first thing Monday morning.
To start the investigation, the detective needs Tanya's banking information, so police can track any recent activity on her accounts.
We asked Tom, what kind of credit cards or checking accounts does she have?
They need credit card information. They need bank statements and accounts and PIN numbers and codes.
I told him that we had a joint account and a joint savings account, and that Tanya had a Nordstrom Visa, and that's all she has with her.
Later that day, Tom tries again to reach Tanya. He can't let go of the feeling that she's out there, somewhere.
I decided to try and call her phone again because it's been giving me this weird feeling of knowing if her phone's still alive, maybe she is. And when I called this time, it went straight to the message. It didn't ring at all, which meant the battery died.
Whatever hope Tom has that Tanya is alive evaporates.
There's nothing left that I can do. I've done everything that I can do. And inside me, something snapped. I kind of fell down and I couldn't get up. Can't move.
Just when he's lost all hope, Tom's cell phone rings. It's the King County investigator. With some incredible news. Police have tracked activity on one of Tanya's bank accounts.
We're going, whoa, what's going on here? Somebody's using that card.
Coming up, a surprising tip leads police to an unexpected interrogation.
And something's not right with this guy's story. And something's just not right with this guy's story.
Get more Disappeared online at investigation.discovery.com. "39-year-old Tom Ryder is experiencing the single worst trauma of his life. His wife, Tanya, has disappeared.
I'm feeling hopeless. I'm feeling completely powerless.
But 4 days after Tanya's disappearance, police think they have a break. There is some activity on one of Tanya's bank accounts.
The detective calls Tom and lets him know that there's a ray of hope.
It basically gave me the impression that Tanya was alive, and that she was out there and she was okay.
Tom calls the detective on his wife's case to inquire about the details of the new discovery.
I asked her specifically what account she was monitoring that she saw activity on. She said, I saw activity on Tanya's checking account.
As far as we knew, she had the only access to the account. Therefore, any activity on the account would be through her debit card.
Unfortunately, there is a mix-up with the account information.
I said, that's a joint account. That was me. I put the gas in my truck because I was out looking for it and ran out of cash.
Tom realized it was his purchase off of the card, and it was nothing to do with Tanya. And so he was again devastated.
Amid the confusion, one thing becomes clear. There is no activity on any of the accounts that connect to Tanya Ryder. Which means there are still no leads in the case, no evidence to suggest foul play, and no clues to where Tanya Ryder might be.
There has to be some evidence of where she might be to give us a starting point, and we didn't have that. Again, she disappeared into thin air, as far as we could tell.
Now that the bank records are a dead end, Tom demands police start physically searching for Tanya.
A natural reaction for people is call out search and rescue, call out your helicopter, go look for her.
But police insist that without a hard lead, there's little point beginning a search.
Remember, we've got her leaving the city of Bellevue, driving 20-some miles to Maple Valley. That's a big area. So where do you search for Tanya Ryder? The reality is, you don't, because she could have gone anywhere.
Tom also demands that they check Tanya's cell phone records.
He's also thinking, why can't they get information from the cell phone company?
I knew they had the ability to trace a cell phone's location to within a cell tower's radius.
But legally, the cell phone company can't just give that kind of information to police.
The problem is, people have a right to privacy. People expect that the police are not going to be able to trace their movements unless there's a reason to do so.
In order to obtain the records, the phone company requires a warrant. But King County Police can't get one.
In the state of Washington, to get a search warrant, you have to have probable cause to believe a crime has been committed. And at this point, we did not have probable cause to believe a crime had been committed. We didn't have an inkling or a suspicion that crime had been committed, much less probable cause.
With no other leads in sight, King County detectives continue to pursue Tanya's cell phone records. Meanwhile, Tom is breaking down from the seemingly hopeless investigation.
Tom is beside himself. He's sleep deprived. He can't keep food down, and he starts breaking down. He's wasting away, mentally and physically.
When you're living through it, it is 100% nightmare. It is everything in your world slows down to a crawl. I was losing all control. And the whole time, you cannot take your mind off of the well-being of your loved one.
But the situation is about to get far worse for Tom. Tanya's boss at the grocery store where she was last seen calls police to voice doubts about him.
This is calling from the Bellevue Fred Meyer store because I wanted to get some information for somebody because one of my employees is missing. Something's not right with this guy's story. And I just need to let somebody know that. Something's just not right with this guy's story.
Eight days have now passed since Tanya Ryder disappeared. The recent suspicion raised by Tanya's boss is the only thing police have to go on. So they turn their attention to the husband, a usual suspect in these types of cases. But they have no evidence against Tom Ryder.
We have to eliminate people from being a suspect in cases like this. And certainly the husband is the #1 suspect. Absent some other sort of evidence that might implicate him, what we decided to do was give him a lie detector test, put him on the polygraph, and see how he does.
I get a call from the detective. Can you come in for an interview? No problem. I got nothing to hide. They just wanted to get some facts straight.
Tom heads to the Kent Justice Center, where he sits for a preliminary interview before the polygraph. As the interview progresses, the nature of the questions starts to irritate Tom.
Was your wife all right the last time you saw her? Was your wife unharmed? Did you do anything to anger her? So it's just, did you hurt your wife? Everything except for, did you kill your wife?
Tom gets the feeling police are doubting his innocence.
They were trying to coax a confession out of me. They had made up their minds that I had done something.
All he could think of was, are they waiting for me to stand up and scream, I'm guilty? I murdered her?
I wasn't fully aware of just how rattled I already was. It was like, this is it. They're going to be crucifying me down here.
Aching with fatigue, Tom feels the walls closing in on him.
My wife never laid a hand on her, never raised a finger to her. I haven't done anything. I knew I was at my breaking point.
Coming up, the stunning conclusion to Tanya Ryder's mysterious disappearance.
So we put detectives out looking to see what they could find. I mean, it's a needle in a haystack.
In the span of 1 week, Tom Ryder has gone from a loving husband to a person being questioned about his wife's disappearance. Now, Tanya's boss is raising suspicions about Tom to the police.
Something's not right with this guy's story. And I just need to let somebody know that. Something's just not right with this guy's story.
Since there are no other leads in the case, police ask Tom Ryder to take a polygraph.
He's thinking, these people want to prove me guilty.
They wanted me to rule myself out or convict myself.
While following up on the lead from Tanya's boss, police are still pursuing a warrant so the phone company can release Tanya's cell phone records.
This is something that took time and a tremendous amount of frustration that we couldn't get to those cell phone records.
Finally, there's a break. A sympathetic judge signs the warrant, and police are able to retrieve Tanya's cell phone records. The information they obtain takes the investigation in a completely new direction.
The detectives were able to look at the records and determine which tower was accessed. They were able to narrow that down into essentially a pie-shaped area 3 to 5 miles out in a particular direction.
The latest is that it's actually hitting off the southeast of that tower. We can give you the latitude, longitude of that tower.
Within this area is the highway Tanya Ryder takes on her daily commute.
So now we know she was probably on her way home. So we put detectives out walking down that highway looking to see what they could find. We fan out on each side of the roadway and just start walking down the shoulder. And this is a state highway. There's a lot of traffic, 50,000 cars a day on this roadway. I mean, it's a needle in a haystack.
As detectives are grilling Tom Ryder, police continue with the Maple Valley Fire Department to search desperately for any clues.
It could have been just the phone tossed out of the car, or it could be the whole car, or nothing at all.
At 3:20 p.m., officials make an astonishing discovery.
We found a vehicle a quarter mile south of the south end of Jones Road.
He finds the car down an embankment, off the highway, totally out of sight, but the car's down an embankment about 12 feet, upside down, and Tanya Ryder is hanging upside down, still in that car, 7 days later.
Rescue workers are in shock. They check inside the car to see if Tanya is alive.
170, we got movement.
We got movement. County, I need an aid car, please. Okay. This is that missing female, Tanya Ryder, that was on the news. We found her vehicle, and she's still moving inside of it. Oh, my God, this was a car accident. I think a car accident, and she's been trapped for this long. Okay. Wow.
Tanya Ryder has been in a terrible car accident and has been trapped 10 feet below the highway. Almost unbelievably, 8 days later, she is still alive.
The car was on its side in a precarious spot, driver's side down, so she was on her side for 8 days hanging from the seatbelt. The airbags had deployed.
We opened the door,
and made contact with Miss Ryder. She was on her left side, suspended by her seatbelt in her seat, unable to reach anything, and she looked like she was hurting. She was just laying very quiet and just asking for help.
Officers on the scene report the stunning turn of events to King County headquarters, where Tom Ryder is trying to rule himself out as a suspect. They give him the news.
He said, "We found her car." It was at that moment, the moment that I almost collapsed. And I said, "Is she all right?"
Miracle survivor, a woman missing for 8 days, turns up alive, trapped in her car, thanks to her cell phone.
A woman who was missing for more than a week has turned up alive just as police were getting ready to question her husband about her disappearance.
Her seatbelt suspended in her car. Ryder was dehydrated but conscious.
Firefighters carefully remove Tanya from the car. She has been without any food or water for 8 days, and she is suffering many severe injuries.
She was then placed in the back of the medic unit and then airlifted to Harborview Hospital.
Her organs had started shutting down because of lack of water intake. She had broken bones. They thought that she was going to lose her leg. She was in horrible shape.
Doctors tell Tom that in a few more hours, Tanya might not have survived.
My wife is in critical condition and fighting for her life. Because of the way she was pinned, and they're hoping not, but they may have to take one of her legs. The only thing I ask of them is to give her the best chance.
Miraculously, doctors save Tanya's leg, but her condition remains critical. Hours after the rescue, Tanya Ryder wakes up in the hospital.
The first thing I remember is waking up and seeing a nurse next to me and feeling very thirsty. I wasn't aware of what had happened to my body.
Tom and Tanya's reunion is emotional for both of them.
I didn't really understand everything that was going on, but when I saw Tom, I saw my comfort space. I knew everything was going to be okay.
She recognized me, and I saw tears well up in her eyes. Her expression softened, the tears started to flow, and she knew that I was there. And I love her more than I love my own life. It was a big relief, but it was also absolute pain to see my wife bandaged from head to toe.
Tanya's car was found less than 6 miles from their home in Maple Valley, a fact that haunts Tom to this day.
I drove right past where she was off the road and couldn't see her, but I didn't know it. I drove right by her lots of times. I didn't know it.
In the aftermath of their extraordinary ordeal, Tom struggles to balance gratitude with rage.
She was in that car for 8 days. All I know is no one else should have to go through what she went through, when the simple pinging of a cell phone could have led him to her an hour.
1 week after Tanya's rescue, the King County Sheriff holds a news conference and apologizes to the Ryders for the limitations of the sheriff's office in this particular case.